Welcome to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Dalton end zone pass is caught. Flag on the play. Touchdown, Gallup.
Sic'Em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
With the ball at the 38. Takes the handoff. Wide open is Boykin. And he is in for the touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Well, I think right now anyone that can play is more open to playing because, again, all us coaches want to see our guys have an opportunity to play. And to be honest, as many practices as we had in, the last thing our guys want to do is practice for. They want to play games. So
now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, good afternoon on this Wednesday afternoon. And, man, has the temperatures warmed up around Central Texas. It is beautiful outside. And tonight, basketball at the Farrell Center. Stephen F. Austin making the trip in yesterday evening, playing number 2 Baylor. Tonight at the Farrell Center, 7 o'clock, just after 7 o'clock tip. And we'll have some coverage on that, including hearing from assistant head coach Jerome Tang here momentarily. We'll also today hear from Jalen Petrie. Landry, the young man who's the defense, I like him.
Josh
Landry, the big, kind of a powerful inside player on the defensive line. And also we'll hear as well from Jonah White, who had to play quite a bit against Oklahoma. I do have this one note. Sam Carroll from New Mexico, they didn't play high school football in New Mexico. He had been committed to Baylor for a long, long time and was going to enroll and sign with Baylor next Wednesday and then enroll. He put up today a note about the fact he wants to step back and look at things. And it's been a long year. He didn't play. I don't know exactly all the background. I have an idea. I've spoken with his father, Richard, a couple of different times over the last several months. But I do know this, that Sam has at least had contact with Washington State, North Dakota State, which is, obviously they're very good, and then a couple of other schools, the schools in New Mexico, and even Stephen F. Austin as a school that he visited. So he'll step back, look what he does. I'm not sure if he'll sign next week or he'll wait to sign in February.
Well, that leaves them with 16 guys now in this recruiting class that's signing next Wednesday, and another defensive lineman now off the board, so that leaves them with approximately 2 D linemen in this class. So, I guess we'll talk about it a bit more later on.
Yeah, we will. So we'll get into that and also what it means. Also hear from Petrie, Landry, and Jonah White. But tonight, again, at the Farrell Center, in what is a great matchup with Stephen F. Austin and Baylor, just after 7 o'clock, assistant head coach Jerome Tang, unbeaten head coach. 4-0, Jerome Tang joins us on Sic'Em365 Radio. Man, I tell you what, you guys have patched this thing together. Stephen F. Austin brings a team, Jerome, that can make you look kind of silly at times. I know you guys are really, really good. How much of a challenge is it playing their style?
Kyle Keller does an unbelievable job up there at Stephen F. Austin. We have nothing but the highest respect for those guys and what he does and how hard he gets his team to play, and his style is definitely different. They don't let you run offense. You better be tough because they are not going away. All right, and especially he's returning 8 guys from last year's team that was 28-3, and man, one at Duke. There are guys on that team that beat us here the last time they were here. He has a tremendous program, 18 consecutive wins dating back to last year. They're a veteran, well-coached, tough, together, very organized on the defensive end. They know what they're doing. This is, of all the games that we scheduled, this might have been the craziest one.
Did you have about the same amount of time to turn it around as you would have if you were playing a team, say, in a tournament?
No, well, going into a tournament, you kind of know the teams that are in there. And so every coach takes a different scout based on the outcome. Hey, if we win, we'll play this team. If we lose, we'll play this team. So you have time to prepare. This was we were prepared for Nichols. Had just finished the video scout in the morning to get ready to present it to the guys. We're meeting as a staff, getting ready to look at some more film of Nichols and just kind of give some thoughts. And then we get the news. And so we spent the next 10, 12, 15 hours trying to find somebody to play and, set up a game. And we went through several opponents. Thought we had games with some people, and then they called back and somebody had offered them a better deal, and just different things like this. So it's it was very rushed as far as preparing the scout, but we see those guys. I mean, we really are fans of what Kyle Keller does and Stephen F. Austin, and I mean, loved watching all of their wins except the one that took place in the Farrell Center a couple of years ago. But and the young men on those teams, on the teams, we know several of them. So we're looking forward to the opportunity to play at home. And I would say this game today is more about our fans and us getting a chance to play in our building again for the first time since March, and so we're fired up.
Jerome, I know you guys have a pretty good idea that you're a pretty good team, but given kind of the cancellations to start off the season, how important do you think it was to play that Illinois game and, match up with somebody of that caliber and kind of get a better idea of, in the heat of the moment, what your team looks like?
Well, it was great to have Scott back and, him coaching the team and feeling the rhythm and of the guys and them feeling him, because it's a totally different thing, totally different energy that Coach Drew brings, to everything. And so it was good for that. And Illinois, as you saw last night, what they did to Duke, they're a really good team, really, really good team. And so that was great to be able to just kind of see where we're at and have some film to show where we can improve, and we'll have a lot of film tonight after this game, because these guys we're gonna have to play a great basketball game tonight.
Could they week in and week out? How good they've been, obviously. And last year, I think they were a Sweet 16 team, SFA. Again, that's easier said than done. But would they, the way they play, if they were a Power 5 school, could they play at least the attrition of the Big 12?
No doubt about it. And their style of play defensively is so different than what you face normally that you can't simulate it in your practices, because unless you play that way, you don't know how to simulate it. It was very similar to when we played our zone in the past, and we were the only school in our league that played that. It caused people problems because they couldn't simulate it in practice. You can't simulate what they do defensively. And so, yes, they would. Those guys, I mean, their staff, Coach Wade and Coach Jeremy Cox, those do a great job of evaluating talent and getting Big 12 caliber players to Stephen F. Austin. And so it's, they would be successful in a Power 5 conference.
How big was that Illinois game to see the team have to struggle for a little bit and look inward and see what they were doing wrong and adapt to the changes you were going before you get into the meat of conference?
No, it was great. It was great because we were able to address some things that you don't get to address unless you're in that fire, and then, they have body, and talent. And so you have to, figure out like all the stuff we drill here at practice, and, then you want to see when you play somebody else, does it really work? Will it translate, the little adjustments that we make? And then we make adjustments on the fly, and seeing those guys making adjustments. So, that was great. That was a great experience. I mean, just the whole thing, the setup in Vegas and then getting to fly there and play that game. And, it was a great experience.
Yeah, it's awesome that you got it done. And I know that you have to worry about tonight. And then, of course, conference starts. How many non-conference games would you rather play? The way you've always done it, the 3, 5, 7 games before conference. How many is enough in your opinion?
Man, we're so result oriented that when it's over, you know, if it works out, we'll say, man, that's enough. if it doesn't, we'll be like, no, we need to play more games. You know, and so I know our players would prefer to play more games than practice. I'll tell you that.
What is it? I mean, you're going to have to weave some of these in and out, kind of like football does in a lot of conferences. Do you think that will help, especially maybe alleviate some of the just constant Big 12 grind?
You know, I personally like when we get into the Big 12 that we're only focused on the Big 12. You know, that you know, I prefer that. You know, last year I thought the SEC Challenge, when we played it, that was a good reprieve for, I guess, because we played a team that didn't know us quite as well. So, you know, it gave us a little something, you know, a little more energy, and some things worked that wouldn't work against a conference opponent. So, you know, I like that, but I wouldn't want to have our guys be fluctuating back and forth between Big 12, focusing on trying to win a Big 12 championship and then win a game, just a regular game. You know, I wouldn't want that, personally.
Jerome, Craig, you have another one? You had your big guys inside, JTT and others. They really kind of seemed like they grew up in a short amount of time. We know that they were talented and that they had that ability, but how much did that help going forward, what they were able to do in that game with Illinois in the second half? After the first half, their bigs were kind of not dominating, but hurting you a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know, and like when we were in Vegas, I think we said several times that, you know, you're not going to really see what this is going to look like for them until, you know, mid-January, February, because they need experience. And so any type of experience against other really good players and people with size and skill, that's so important for them. And the speed at which you have to play, it just, you can't simulate it in practice. So and the jitters and the nerves and, you know, just communicating. And you know, I thought defensively we did all right in the first half. You know, our game plan against them was, you know, don't let them make threes, and, you know, they can't beat us making twos. You know, so it didn't. I mean, I with what their bigs did in the first half, we didn't go away from that going, man, we're getting smacked. That wasn't happening. They scored 30 points in the first half. I thought in the second half our guys relaxed offensively, and then we're able to see the ball go through the hole a couple times. And that really made a difference for our guards, because now they had to pay attention to the roller. They had to pay attention to the post-up.
Scott said on the press conference that you guys have a really player-led team, and that alleviates things on the coaching staff. And I don't want you to get into comparing, but this group does really seem to be very self-reliant when it comes into looking inward. Do you see that on a day-in and day-out basis?
Man, yes. They are fun to be around. They're fun to talk to. You can ask them questions about game planning and about what they see, and they tell you the truth. They don't tell you what the easy thing is, you know. And I really have a great respect for them, because they really, I mean, I'll just give you an example. We were in Vegas, and we had played Louisiana, and so we're playing Washington the next day. So that night, we were just going to show them personnel of Washington, and, you know, try to get them to bed. Well, we had them downstairs 10 o'clock, 10:30, and we showed the personnel, and they say, "Is that it? Where are the plays?" And so we pulled out the sets and started showing them. I mean, we showed the whole scout, and we intended just to get them to bed. And they were like, "No, we want to see the whole thing." And then they're talking to each other. They're seeing what they see, and I mean, it's a special group, fellas. It's a special group.
It's a compliment to you and, well, obviously Scott and everyone else as well. No question about it. Jerome, thank you very much. I know it's game day for you to jump on with us. We appreciate it. Good luck tonight against SFA, and thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks, fellas.
We'll see you.
You guys.
We'll see you at the Farrell Center. Jerome Tang, assistant head coach, Stephen F. Austin and Baylor. And as he mentioned, you know, you listened to Kyle Keller yesterday.
Yeah.
And that got a little play on the website, on the Sic'Em365.com, the premium. He goes, you know, some people want us to get Kyle on like we do Phil Bennett, because he's very entertaining. But you hear what Kyle Keller has to say, and then you realize that Jerome Tang, they have 8 guys coming back. Now, they have some that they miss, but this is Baylor's good enough to go out and beat a lot of people, make them look bad. But they will be tested. And 2 years ago, of course, the stunning win at the Farrell Center. I'll never forget because it was Bogues who went the distance. Shannon Bogues from Killeen, I think it was, right? Went the distance, laid it up at the buzzer, and boom, game's over.
Well, isn't this the trade-out you'd want? Okay, so you don't get Gonzaga. You got to play Illinois and get tested. That's fine. But you don't get Gonzaga, which you really wanted for a lot of different reasons. So then Nickel State gets canceled. So then you, I don't want to say it's in the middle of Gonzaga and Nickel State, but you're going to get tested, but it's not going to be, and even though it's not Gonzaga, you're still going to get tested. So you kind of get to have that benefit of being challenged.
The issue is that you're playing a team that will fight your.
Oh yeah.
And still lose by 20 maybe, or who knows? Goes down to the last 5 minutes. The longer the game goes, when they hang around, that's dangerous. It is with anybody that's an underdog, but I think this is a much better opponent than Nickel State. But no, they're not even in the same discussion. Not many people are with Gonzaga. All right, when we come back, or you want to do it now with the interviews with the players?
We'll do it when we come back.
All right, when we come back, Jalen Petrie on what Dave Aranda said earlier this week about if they did have a chance to play one more game after Oklahoma State, it's almost as if they're just mentally and physically, it's all kind of combined gassed. Also, Josh Landry on Dave Aranda loosening up a little bit. And then Jonah White, how about him in that game with Oklahoma? Looked good doing it as well on being ready to go. All that and more. Plus, what do we have today? We have also the John Machota on the Cowboys, Richie Witt from SI.com, CowboysSI.com, on what was another flat tire for the Cowboys defense last night. Just ripped by Baltimore. Just absolutely hammered by Baltimore. And what's happened to Zerline? All of a sudden, he missed 3 field goals that would have kept them close. It's kind of like a couple of games Baylor's played. If they could have made some field goals early, you never know what it means late. This is Sic'Em365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty, Petty Clinic, LowT.com can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. What does that mean? Just feeling better, sleeping better. Also, it could be that you are more focused. And a lot of it, you go, okay, how do we, get more sleep, eat better, whatever? Yeah, but he has a chance to check your blood and your levels of testosterone. Your testosterone levels, as they get lower, as they go lower and lower, as in some cases, not everybody, but as you get older, your testosterone levels can dip. And that also can lead to you not sleeping as well, not being as focused, not mentally sharp. You lose your sex drive and your performance and endurance. So Petty Clinic, LowT.com can help you out. Here's what you do. Get on their website, and there's a number. You can call it, or you can contact them through the website, Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Tell them David Smoke sent you, and they'll set you up to get blood work. The blood work will then be sent to Dr. Petty. They'll get discounted blood work. Tell them Smokey sent you. The blood work will go to Dr. Petty. He'll look at your results, including your PSA check. As you get older, that's something as a man you have to make sure you watch that as well. And there's other particular numbers and blood count that he'll look at as well. But then the testosterone level, if it's too low, if it should be 600 or 700, 800, and it's maybe 400 or less, or even maybe slightly lower, he could put you in a program to help you get your testosterone level back to become the high-performance man you want to be. It's Petty Clinic, LowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With your Ram truck from Allen Samuels, you may not have to plow through snow and mud or pull heavy loads, but you could. During the Big Finish year-end event, you get a Ram deal like no other. Employee pricing for all, 0% for 84, and no payments for 90 days. Ram 1500 Lone Star for Christmas. No other truck comes close. And ask about Big Finish pricing on Ram Heavy Duty and Ram ProMaster for your business. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels. Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
The Sic'Em365 radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Cowboys gave up nearly 300 yards rushing. The only reason they didn't because it was a goal line. And so that stops a long run and time. And beaten again, they're now, 3-9 on the year with 4 games left, and they're actually favored this week against Cincinnati. So that's going on. They play this weekend against Cincinnati. Good, Paul?
Yeah. John
Machota, theathletic.com, covers the Cowboys at 3:45, back-to-back with Cowboys segments. Richie Witt today will join us from SI.com at 4 o'clock. Jalen Petrie, Josh Landry, and Jonah White. Jalen Petrie, this is part of, and Paul, you asked the questions, but Jalen Petrie when Dave Aranda brought this up, I don't think everybody kind of understands this, but how they are just out of gas in a way. And there's 1 game left, and they need this win. That Grant Taft said it. Everyone knows it. They need a win. Jalen Petrie on that.
The mental toll, it's been a little rough, with the losses, but also just, having gratitude to just go out there every week and be able to compete with our opponents in the Big 12 has been very, fun and the thing that you look forward to. So I would say it's been a little rough, but we're grateful to go out there every week and be able to play against, these teams and get the opportunity to showcase our talents. So I would say it's been fun, and the fun is definitely outweighing, the mental toll.
That's Jalen Petrie. And I've seen a little bit of discussion about this, so I'm like, come on, When Dave Aranda said if, in fact, there would have been another game to play, they would probably pass on that. We don't know because we're not inside that Fieldhouse bubble, that department bubble, do we?
No, we don't know.
It's hard for us, but I'm not an 18 to 22-year-old.
You saying from a player's perspective?
Yeah, from a player's perspective with all the things they've been up and down.
I think it's pretty clear what the non-players, feel like. I mean, Mac said it. Aranda said it.
Yep.
And, I saw a couple of the just really dumb comments as far as the Aranda quote. just wanting to rehash the past, which some people just cannot seem to not do. But I think in general, the reception to the quote I put out was one of people going, wow, that's a really honest answer. And not many coaches would probably say it that openly that, hey, if we could play in an extra game in a year where this team could probably afford to play as much football as possible, it's still not even worth it. It's worth it just to get to the finish line. And I think that goes to tell you everything that you need to know about kind of the mindset of this team, regardless of what Jalen Petrie just said. And I'm sure it's individually different stories. You know, Jalen Petrie might have said, like, hey, I'm still having fun even though it's been hard, but I guarantee you go ask a batch of other players and, you know, give them open mic time, and they would say, yeah, this has really sucked. Like, this has been really, really hard, and we're kind of tired. And I think that's just the overall feeling, and you know, it's been fun at times. It's been really hard at times, but I think they're all just kind of ready to play this Saturday and then, you know, let it go where it may.
Yeah, there's nothing the matter with that.
No, there's nothing wrong. I love the fact he was brutally honest about it. You're right, Paul. And here's another thing about this is that, you know, they have the opportunity to practice next week, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I didn't get to ask him because the game is what matters this week with Oklahoma State, but they're allowed to have a practice. I would think that they'll have meetings with coaches that will last maybe Monday and Tuesday, kind of your exit exam, so to speak.
They have 10 days from today, right?
Yes.
The 19th.
And I don't know if they're going to even do much of that. You would think that they could always use that, kind of a little bit of a mini spring drill. That's why bowl games are so great, or state championship runs in high school football. You get that extra maybe 2, 3, 4 in high school, 6 weeks of practice if you play for a state championship. I don't even know if they're going to do much of that. That's something we'll need to ask him maybe in the post game after the game on Saturday.
Well, we'll have to get whatever questions we can in because we don't know when we'll talk to him again until National Signing Day, which granted is next week. So it's not like, you know, we won't talk to him soon again. But, I mean, he'll also be entirely focused on the actual recruit signing and not so much on the team. But, yeah, I mean, you're going to have an entire 1 week after Saturday, and how they go about doing that we'll have to ask. And I'm curious to know because – you know, I highly doubt that players who are maybe having the thought of leaving are going to suit up next week for practices.
I agree.
So I would think we'll see some change there. And yeah, I'm glad they're at least getting the opportunity.
Josh Landry, this young man played his, you know, I mean, he showed up against Oklahoma. 6 tackles, 3 solo, a tackle and a half behind the line of scrimmage, and a 10-yard sack. He had 2.5 tackles behind the line of scrimmage that were minus 21 yards, something that's a disruptive play. He has that little it factor to him as far as the way he looks. Now, he hadn't done much. He had 3 tackles against Texas, and he had a couple of tackles against KU, 1 against Kansas State, but there's been a couple of games he just was there. He had a block kick this year as well. Remember, Bravion Roy used to be so good at that. And I'm not trying to compare him to Bravion Roy, but they need that meat grinder inside. And Josh Landry on the question of maybe Dave Aranda becoming more and more comfortable and becoming more and more outwardly on the sideline.
Yeah, it got him going. It got him going for sure. And us seeing him get going, it got us going even more. So, yeah, he liked that at practice when the energy's low. He helps pick us up and get us rolling.
Some of you keep asking about, hey, you are who you are. Armstrong, Jack, Craig, Paul, we're all who we are. You know, you want someone to be who they are. I don't want Dave Aranda to start screaming and yelling and slamming his fist. That would be so fake. The players would know that as well. But he is showing more and more outwardly emotion, and I think it's because he's more comfortable. And I think he said to me Monday, he's also now watching players the light switch. It doesn't mean that they're coming on all the time, but I think he's getting to know his players better. And when he sees someone that and they make a play, heck yeah. Who wouldn't get excited? It's like your son passing a test or your daughter passing a test when they've been struggling in a class, right? And then they come home with an A. Yes, you get excited about that because the light switch came on.
Well, I mean, that's not all that dissimilar to Rule after 1-11, and some of the moments in that year and then the following year of 7-6 where you were at least seeing signs of improvement. You were seeing, oh, wait a second, I think this Terrell Bernard kid has something, or I think this kid has something, or you know, Tyquan Thornton or whoever it was that all kind of debuted or rose their game to a different level. And we're going to see that. We're going to see that, you know, I think it may not be the guys that we were all expecting to be impact players this year, but moving forward, Josh Landry, Jalen Ellis, Quaylon Jones, Drake Dabney. I mean, I could go on and on. There's a lot of guys. And then you have even some of your veterans like a Christian Morgan. I mean, how excited are people going to be to see him play next year with, some of what he's done this season? And there's a lot of good young talent, and I think he's seeing those guys kind of buy in. And, I think one particular quote from Mac Rhodes yesterday was about the language in the locker room and how it was all it was all more in line with what like the typical terms and slogans are of this coaching staff. And so that's starting to come around a little bit, maybe too little too late for this season, obviously, but that change is occurring, and not everybody's going to be a part of that change. And we'll start to see that probably beginning next week of who's on board and who's not. But there's guys on board, and that's something he can work with.
No, you want to know who they are. And if you have guys that start maybe this week, there's a game left, I don't feel good. I got this, right? If there's a legitimate inch, listen, here's what happens. Some of the players, and there are players who are hurt and they're done, right? But if you're just tired and not because you're just kind of like, man, we got a game to go. I'm off. I'm not going to play. I don't feel. My elbow hurts, and I'm not questioning injuries. I would never do that. But if you're one of those that wants to play at the next level, whether you're a freshman or a fifth-year senior, if you aren't all in, and you should be, guess what's going to be found out when the pro scouts come walking around campus and talk to your former coach, whether it's Dave Aranda, whether it's Matt Rule, or whether it's whoever you go play for if you do next year.
Yeah, they'll say, look, they'll
find out.
He's talented, but he's emotionally not. Look, they said it about Denzel Mims, of all people. I mean, Denzel Mims had to
grew up from that.
Had to grow up from that. Like the pro scouts had to say, well, what we've been told about you. That people said what we've been told about you is that you're not really all in. And then Denzel Mims took that to heart.
Took it to heart. Played the last 2 years very well. Got better and then got better. Yeah, Matt Rule had an NFL scout just give him some truth serum.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really any likely candidate for somebody who would be doing that. I think everybody's been dealing with pretty legit injuries and just frustration. So I don't think that – I do think that Lovett and Ebner are going to have some extra questions whenever they get ready for the draft process because of the whole to-do earlier this year. That's going to be asked. But, to their credit, I think they answered that question by coming back. And it was unfortunate to see both of them gotten dinged up, and that's – partially why they made that decision or were leading towards making that decision in the first place. So you see it from both sides, but I think everybody's done what they can do. I just think it's been really disjointed and odd and just, it kind of speaks to the year itself.
We've seen what they've done at running back. They're now down to, they had a walk-on play in that game against Oklahoma. We also saw Jonah White. We're about to hear from him. But the wide receiver position, Jared Atkinson's out because he hurt himself in practice. He get rolled up on, a couple of 3 weeks ago. Tyquan Thornton in and out, and I think he took a shot to the head, right? Mm-hmm. Jalen Ellis, I don't know how healthy he is, and we finally have at least seen his name a little bit. He had a catch against Oklahoma. And not just a catch, it was a big catch, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
And then you have Fleeks, who kind of came up at the end of the game. He wasn't quite, it looked like 100%. So you start looking around, you might see guys even deeper on the depth chart that have a chance to play. From Scotty B, by the way, let's hope we bring a lot back on defense next year and improve offense. In addition to bringing some recruits who want to help build this program back up and improve our team, as for this week, I say play exact same way on defense or better, while have a better offense. Baylor has a good chance of knocking off Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State might be going through remember, we were told by Oklahoma State fans when the Baylor game was postponed, well, my God, why do we have to play them the week before we're playing for the Big 12 championship? Right?
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. And that's not being disrespectful of them. That's the fans, not the team.
But part of it, though, is like as a team, they're probably going through the pangs of regret right now.
Well, no, absolutely.
Of this could have been, had only this happened, we would be looking down.
They're the ones that beat Iowa State other than Louisiana. They beat Iowa State, the only one in the conference.
Yeah, but if they don't lose to Texas, and they don't lose last week, they're.
But they did.
So they're going to play the what-if game.
To me, the loss to Texas popped their balloon. To me, the loss to Oklahoma, obviously because of what it means, not just with the standings. But the loss to Texas, that's the one where UT went in and dictated that game. Now, also...
I was going to try and add that they did have a defensive player that the week Baylor canceled that game did talk trash and say that Baylor was basically running from them. I forget his name now, but yeah, I mean, I remember that tweet vividly. I retweeted it. And so, yeah, you look forward a few weeks, and I don't think anybody's really scared of playing Oklahoma State at this point.
Jonah White, 2 carries, had in the game against Oklahoma, had 3 carries, 18 yards, had maybe the longest run of that game for Baylor at 17 yards. Also had 9 catches for 63 yards. A lot of them were check downs. A lot of them were out of the backfield, but he looked pretty good. And, Paul, you had a chance to visit with him as well. He was a part of that media session.
Yeah, I asked him, just given the fact that he is, honestly, he's far down. He's about the 4th or 5th guy on the depth chart when it comes to running back. How many reps he got leading up to this, and how comfortable he was stepping into that role?
I just felt like whatever I could do to help the team, and really all of us, all the running backs together, we're all not in competition, but we all love to help each other out. And when they went down, they came over and talked to me and encouraged me and built me up for me when I win the game, because I had little nervous butterflies and stuff. And even all of the running backs were on my side, coaching me up on coaching points, that I needed to do. And I was just thankful for them to help with that.
So Jonah White, Josh Landry, Jalen Petrie, 3 players we heard from earlier in the day.
By the way, Jonah White from Merkel, Texas, a place I've never been. I don't know if I'll ever wind up going, but he talked about it a little bit, and it's very small.
It's a small school. Ohio State is now part of the Big Ten football championship.
I'm glad they worked so hard for it. It really, you want to talk about when you dig deep, determination and pride, believe in yourself, doing things right. That's what they did.
They made a decision. The Big Ten administrators voted that they are now a part of the Big Ten championship game. I guess they'll play, Northwestern? They will represent the East against Northwestern. It's interesting because they were so, and I want to use words, and I know we're on the internet and I can, they are so full of themselves. They are arrogant among the most arrogant. They want to be the Ivy League educationally. And they also then want to be Mr. TV executive when it comes to football. Mm-hmm. And this is Ohio State. We want to see if that is it. But I saw somebody today make a comment about the 4 and whatever. This is no longer a college football playoff. This is now no different than the Masters. It's an invitational.
Well,
this is if you get an invite, you get to play. I don't even know if some can earn their way.
It's always been that the way.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
But
so people have bent over backwards for Ohio State, and I know they've been left out as well.
You know, the biggest reason why the playoff won't expand is because they don't want to allow the other teams in.
Yeah,
I believe that as much as anything because they're obsessed with money. College athletics is consumed with money. That's the whole basis of their operation, although I know that Mac Rhodes would tell us it's about the carrying of the student athletes and all that. But college sports as a whole is just a money generator. And so you cannot tell me for 1 second that a bunch of athletic directors and money-hungry people are sitting there looking at the possibility of an 8-team playoff or a 12-team playoff and all of the extra tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that would bring in and then going no, we don't want to do that. Well, I wonder why. Probably because you'd have to invite Boise State to your little party.
Yeah.
And probably because Baylor would get into your little party every 5 or 6 years.
Or TCU, ooh.
I mean, I really do. I mean, what reason do they have to not do it?
Actually, it's kind of contradictive, not of what you're saying, but they would make more money.
Right. Yeah, well, that's they had to get dragged kicking and streaming into the playoff.
It took 100 years for that to happen.
Their explanation was well, we don't know we'd make that much more money. And here you got television networks going we have a vault of money for you.
But the Big Ten play poker. They got left out of the party, and all of a sudden they're scrambling, and then they're reneging on what they told Nebraska with the middle finger up there, your kazoo. Stop. You don't belong with us, and we don't need you telling us what to do. Stop. And now they changed the rules for Ohio State.
Here's what I wish the College Football Playoff Committee would do. They won't. They will not do this. This is Candyland rosy stuff that I'm proposing here. But I wish that they would say, listen, Big Ten, we appreciate that Ohio State is probably one of the best teams player for player in the country. But you as a conference tried to torpedo the entire college football season.
Yeah, for everybody.
We are almost not here because of your decision. You panicked, you did what you did, and now you have to reap what you sow. We're sorry, but somebody else is going in.
there's not many qualities I hate in people more. Like, I'm not a dude that's like real hate-filled or anything like that. I'm pretty dadgum chill. Like, you have to give me a reason to have a feeling one way or the other. But one thing about people or entities that really rubs me the wrong way every time is smugness. I hate smugness, and there is not a more smug entity in maybe all of sports than the Big Ten Conference. And, Kevin Warren rolled in, threw his weight on the table, and felt like, well, I'm the commissioner of the Big Ten now, and how we go, everybody else goes. And they really tried to force that. They really tried to prevent the Big 12 and the ACC and the SEC. Maybe not saying outright, hey, we don't want them to play football, but what they did maneuvering politically, what they did maneuvering in the media, because all these big-time college football writers that you see, Big Ten biased, not even a question about it. And what were they all doing while the Big Ten was saying, no, let's don't play? They were, look at what the Big Ten's saying. The team shouldn't play. And so they had the media in their back pocket. And now they'll have the media in their back pocket again. But, it's hypocritical. And, look, I understand kind of playing free and loose because of the year this is. And I also believe that, yes, Ohio State is probably one of the best 4 teams in the country. But now I do hope they get in and Alabama shellacks them. I doubt it happens, but I definitely will now, with no rooting interest whatsoever, be rooting heavily against Ohio State this weekend and then afterwards. And I don't really have anything against them, but I definitely don't want to see the Big Ten cashing millions and millions in checks when they were the one that tried to prevent anybody from making any money at all this season. Yeah, and it's also, again, it goes back to Nebraska was trying to tell them, hey. It wasn't just Nebraska, though. Ohio State was actually Ryan Day and Scott Frost, even though they just drilled Nebraska the first game out of the bat. Yeah, they're arrogant, they're smug, and now they're like, why don't you just come out and say, you know what, we blanked up. Because they don't really have to? Because they don't have to. Yeah. They don't have to. Now, Coach K with Duke saying he's not so sure the basketball season should go forward. I kind of got the impression Kim Mulkey might not have said that today in her media session. We'll have part of that today at 4:30 or so. Coming up next, we'll have John Machota, normally at 5 on Wednesdays, but Mike McCarthy's press conference is at 5. So back-to-back on the Cowboys getting drilled by the Ravens with John Machota, then Richie Witt. He'll have some opinions and fire. Also today, we continue on throughout what we're doing. And of course, at 5:30, Football Bob joins us on Baylor and looking back at what they did against Oklahoma. This is Sic'Em365 Radio. IdealMRI.com. They sponsor Sic'Em365 Radio, the title sponsor. I've mentioned this before. I like to mention it to make sure you understand that when we first started this dream and journey, the dream was Brian, Colt, and Ashley. We were then invited to come onto the cruise ship. And Ideal MRI contacted me through the website and said, hey, please call me about the show. Dr. Rob Maxey called me. He said, hey, let's talk about this. And I didn't know what to expect. We didn't know who would come on board. We had an idea. And he said, I don't want to just be a part of the show. I want to be the title sponsor of the show. So I sent him some information just like that. And they have been the title sponsor since our opening show on April the 6th, which is now 177 shows deep. We appreciate that. But also we appreciate what they represent, because what they represent is you, by trying to help you if you have something that's more than just maybe a bump or a bruise, something that's really painful, something that hurts so much you can't sleep or concentrate, something that's either torn, broken, or shredded, like a ligament, a muscle, or a bone, and help find out what's going on with you. And they do it for $497 or less with an MRI machine that's just like anything else you can get anywhere else you can get. State-of-the-art technology right there in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco, Texas. Contact IdealMRI.com. Get the appointment. They'll take you through the process, the MRI, and when it's over, you're not going to get any bills that trickle in at the end. $497 or less, I promise you. And normally the average is $1,100 or more wherever you go. $497 or less. You'll get the MRI results from them that day. They'll call you. You can pass it along to your doctor. And boom, just like that, we'll find out what's going on with you. IdealMRI.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, Cowboys last night were drilled by the Ravens. There was a time early on, they were competitive, but eventually as the clock continued to tick, so did the game, and so did their chances of winning. Even the kicking game, which has been okay. Zerline missed 3 field goals, but they're now 3-9, 4 games left. And with New York and Washington both winning, it's done when it comes to the NFC East. We're joined by John Machota, normally at 5, but earlier today because Mike McCarthy we'll talk at 5 o'clock. Was last night, did you see, he's got sometimes a little grouch in him, as you could imagine, and he should. His team is 3-9. Did you see a little bit more of an angry Mike McCarthy by any chance last night because of some things they didn't do well?
Yeah, I think for sure. After the game, even during the game, though, the way they kept re-showing his reaction to that first missed field goal from Zerline, because he knows that he probably should have called a timeout there. And by him not calling a timeout, they don't get it off in time, you delay a game, pushes them back 5 more yards. Now, Greg Zerline still should make it from 40 yards. I mean, that shouldn't have been an issue for him. But those type of things are highlighted when there's miscues like that. And so I thought it was interesting just how many times they showed that replay during the TV coverage of just how angry he was that not only that they didn't get the initial playoff in time, but then obviously the missed field goal that followed. So yeah, no, he's angry and he should be. I mean, I think the biggest thing is on the defense. Like it just, it looked like they were turning the corner finally. There were games this season, whether it be, Philadelphia or Pittsburgh and even against Minnesota, where you were like, all right, this looks like the defense has turned the corner. It's not quite as bad as it was against Arizona on the first time they played Washington. So it looks like there's some buy-in here. There's some good effort. And then these last two games, it looks like what we saw, like I said, against Arizona and Washington, where you're just like, that's not good. And then you have Stephen Jones on the radio this morning talking about how, there's a lot of these same guys were on the field last year, and we were never this bad, stopping the run. And I thought that was very interesting as well, because after the game, Mike McCarthy specifically said it was not scheme related. So if it's not the scheme, then it's the players, and if it's not the players, it's the scheme. So there's plenty of fingers he pointed at whoever, but there's no excuse for how bad that defense has been, particularly in the running game.
So might we be seeing a schism in the philosophy between the coach and front office?
It's tough to say this early, just because of the fact that I do think Mike McCarthy has a very good relationship with Jerry and Steven, but that could get to a point in the offseason where maybe, he's asked and maybe even told, hey, it's probably best if you make some changes on this coaching staff, because we can't go through another season with a defense that looks this bad. And here's the thing, the defense is missing players like every team is, and yes, they did have to go through a new coaching staff, and yes, there is a scheme change that they're going through, but there should be signs of improvement at this stage. It shouldn't be getting worse, and that's just never a good sign at where they're at right now. So, yeah, there's got to be something has to be addressed in the offseason. I mean, I know people want to throw out there, maybe Mike McCarthy's gone after only 1 year. I don't see that happening, but I can see him having to make changes on that coaching staff because, we were sold in the offseason, as you guys probably remember, and the idea of that this was going to not be like the previous regime where it was you had to find the players to fit their scheme. This was going to be, give us the players, we'll fit our scheme around our players. Well, it's pretty clear that they haven't fit their defensive scheme around their players.
Who do you think would be the best bets on the coaching staff if you were looking at most likely, changes? Who would you pinpoint first?
Well, I think the easiest one that everyone's going to go to is Mike Nolan, the defensive coordinator. I mean, that's, when you're in charge of the defense and the defense has been as historically bad as they've been, particularly in the run game and the lack of effort there. It just that's always going to go back to coaching. When it's one thing if it was only like one or two players, but when you have multiple players and it's against multiple teams for multiple weeks, it seems like a major issue there. So I would think that would be one area, and if not, it may be the position coaches on defense, whether it be on defensive line, the defensive back coaches, linebacker. I mean, any of those in the offseason could be changed, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. There's really no excuse for the defense to look as bad as it has in. I'm not going to say every game, but I'm going to say at least 4 or 5 of their games this season.
The offensive line has an excuse, although, the game, the calendar, the schedule moves on. They've had their, decimating type injuries. Some teams have been through that before, but obviously then you have Dak. But on the defense, why in the hell can't they stop the run? Well, I mean, why can't they load up? What is the problem of why that they are historically almost 300 yards last night to Baltimore?
Well, one of the reasons I honestly believe, it hasn't really been talked about a bunch, I'm actually writing about it tomorrow, but I believe that it's catching up with them, their lack of investments at defensive tackle. Like, we all talk about how little they've invested at safety. What about how little they've invested at defensive tackle? And that's usually where the run game starts at. I mean, usually if you have good defensive tackles, you shut down the run or at least are competitive in the run game. They haven't really invested much in defensive tackle. And this goes back to when obviously Rod Marinelli was there. He had a lot of say in the personnel they brought in. They never, we were told about how, the 3 technique and this defensive line is such a key piece. And, they never went out and got a big name defensive tackle. They used a 3rd round pick on Malik Collins. They used guys like Antoine Woods. They went out and they used a 2nd round pick last year on Tristan Hill. And obviously he didn't play right away. And that seems like that's still to be a project. Maybe he would have gotten better as the season went along, but obviously he's hurt out and he's out for the rest of the year. And then they finally spent a third-round pick on Neville Gallimore. But it's like, where's the first-round pick on that position? You know, where's an investment in free agency? Now, there, of course, if I said this and Mike McCarthy was in their side of line, he'd be like, well, we went out and we spent money to go get Gerald McCoy. Yeah, that's not the – I mean, let's be honest here. That you weren't getting Gerald McCoy from the Bucks, you know, like where it was going to make this major difference. I mean, he's at the back end of his career, and obviously, as you saw, he ends up getting hurt. But I think they need to make more of a commitment at defensive tackle. And if that happens, then you don't have your line getting pushed back into your linebackers, and you have your defensive linemen making plays. And there just hasn't been enough of that from the middle of this defense for a long time.
So, John, kind of like the anti-Washington Football Club?
Yeah, they need to get on board with doing a little bit with the Washington Football Club. I mean, you look at the way that they play, and obviously they were bad for a long time, and so they invested all their first-round picks in the defensive line, much like the Cowboys did, you know, under Jason Garrett on the offensive line. And so generally speaking, once you spend that many picks, at least some of them should hit if they're all first-round picks, and that's clearly worked out for Washington. But I'm glad you mentioned them because I think that needs to be factored in what we saw last night too. It's what we've seen this year from Washington. It's what we've seen this year from the Giants. Those teams are getting better. Those are teams that were supposed to be at the bottom of the NFC. This was supposed to be an Eagles versus Cowboys fight to win this division. Also with Washington, New York, they both have new head coaches. They went through their own. I mean, it's hard to sit there and put a value on, you know, who's gone through more adversity, who's lost more players. Hey, granted, you know, maybe the Cowboys have lost more than them. I just would make the argument with how badly run that the Washington football team is that they don't even have a team name. They also have a new head coach. They have a head coach who's been battling through cancer this season. They have had injuries as well, and they seem to be getting better as the season goes on. And that doesn't seem to be the case with the Dallas Cowboys. And I think you don't have to look far. You can see it within their own division. That doesn't look good for Mike McCarthy and his coaching staff either.
John, so if let's go back to, if it's not the players and it's not the scheme, what is Mike McCarthy's estimation of it?
Well, he said is just them executing. You know, I mean, that's just, there's always going to be a coach speak term for everything. You know, just like the week before when it was like, go for it on fourth down deep in your own territory on 4th and 10. It's, well, I have trust in my players. Okay, well, you had fourth down situations this past game. How come did you not have trust in your players this game? Like, how come you didn't go for them this time too? You know, I mean, there's always going to be, it was execution. Well, okay, so then to me, that's the players. They're not executing, so that's on the players. I mean, for him to say that it's not scheme and it's execution, then that's on the players. And so, you know, and don't get me wrong. I mean, after the game, Leighton Vander Esch, for one, you know, he stood up and said that the long touchdown run, the first one Lamar Jackson had on that 4th and 2 that went for 37 yards, he took the blame for that. He guessed and thought that he was giving the ball to the running back, and he kept it. And Leighton said that, hey, that's out of character for me. I normally don't do that. And that's fine. And, you know, honestly, I'm fine with that. If that happens once or twice, but when you have just multiple players and they're missing assignments and there's this guy standing around, and again, it comes back to when you're questioning effort. I mean, you got Troy Aikman calling the game and he's questioning the effort of these guys, which is something that he doesn't really do. And he knows that whatever he says on there during a Cowboys broadcast, that's going to be heard. I mean, it holds even more weight than if he's calling, you know, another team's game. And so those are all signs that, again, if that was like at the beginning of the year, then you're like, hey, it'll get better. Let the guys buy in. We're down the home stretch here, and there's still guys not buying in. That's a big problem.
Yeah, it is. And they might need you know, we're sitting here covering Baylor at 2-6, maybe 2-7 or 3-6, and you might need a roster that at some point, you know, there needs to be some that don't come back and some you don't ask back. So thanks a lot, John. Appreciate you jumping on early with us, and good luck with that press conference at 5.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me on.
John Machota with The Athletic. And coming up next, Richie Witt. I saw his tweet. He covers the Cowboys, has for a long, long time. And he mentioned the comment, Troy Aikman basically said this defense has quit. Those are powerful words. I don't care who it is. And that's also very personal. So we'll come back with Richie Witt on that and much, much more. It's Sic'Em365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. I did receive this. How about this? You know that Ram truck that is so amazing, especially in the state of Texas, but elsewhere as well. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, for the 3rd consecutive year. Ram trucks back to back to back. 3rd consecutive year, Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Nothing comes close to a Ram truck. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Right now, the incentives include employee pricing for all on most new vehicles. Nearly every new vehicle has 0% financing for either 60, 72, or 84 months. And every new vehicle has no payments for 90 days. Think about that. That's 1, 2, and 3 great reasons right now to drop by Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram, Fiat. SUV, again, the various SUVs you have available, including the 2011 Cherokees, 0%, 72 months, employee pricing, no payments, 90 days. The Gladiator from Jeep. If you don't want a truck but you want something like that, the Gladiator. 100% truck, 100% SUV. The Swiss Army knife of all SUVs, same incentives available. The Pacifica, if you want a minivan. The hybrid, $9,500 in values and employee pricing. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram, Fiat, your home for Ram trucks. And for the third consecutive year, back to back to back, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrapped fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 2 bacon-wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Dalton end zone pass is caught. Flag on the play. Touchdown, Gallup.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, we're about to get some truth serum on the Cowboys. First of all, Richie Witt, longtime writer, CowboysSI.com, DallasBasketball.com, and many things as well, and on Twitter at Richie, RICHIEWHITT, joins Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, and David Smoke. Did Troy Aikman put a dagger in the Cowboys' heart and soul with what he said about them quitting?
Smokey, you know what? When you've lost Troy Aikman, you've got real problems, don't you? I mean, he's lifelong Cowboys, obviously part of the family, and he's great on Fox as an analyst, but it's something he's not. He's not quick to call out players for their effort. But last night was so obvious, so embarrassing, so insulting to Cowboys fans that even Troy Aikman had to jump in and yeah, when if you lose Aikman, you've got real problems. And Smoke, you know this. I've been a Cowboys fan since birth. I went to the Cotton Bowl with Dad to watch games. Saw Don Meredith throw bombs to Bob Hayes. I've been a fan forever. Covered this team in Dallas-Fort Worth media since 1986. That was about as bad as it gets last night. The other time I saw a defense of the Cowboys quit like that was the Sunday night game in 2010. They lost to the Packers 45-7, and the next day Wade Phillips was fired. That's how bad it was last night.
Richie, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just looking at Twitter last night. A lot of Cowboys fans was trading like, man, Troy Aikman is being really hard on us. Why is Troy Aikman being so mean? And I'm like, if I'm Troy Aikman and I'm watching the team that I was a huge part of making a dynasty do that, I'd be pissed too.
Yeah, it's COVID. It's a crazy year, and a lot of things are irregular and irrational. And Dak Prescott's out. The offensive line is hurt, and they went through the tragedy and the assistant coach dying recently. Execution, we can give a mulligan to in 2020, but not effort. Effort should be something that's there no matter what year it is, no matter what the circumstances are. And when you saw the Ravens waltzing through the Cowboys' defensive line and into the secondary, and guys like Rashard Robinson, doing a slip and slide imitation. You saw Xavier Woods look like a ticket taker at a movie theater, just letting guys through. They're either incapable or unwilling of making plays on the defense, and neither one of those are unacceptable. And Troy was right on the money.
Richie, with the weird lead-up that you talked about, we've dealt with it here at Baylor with Dave Aranda and just the difficulty in getting to know his team. And I'm not using this as any excuse for the way that they're playing, but how disjointed do you think maybe some of the chemistry is as a result of the lead into his first year?
There's no doubt. Mike McCarthy came in, and it was so strange. He didn't meet his players for 2.5 months. And he's installing a brand new system. And so, like I said, execution, we'll give him a mulligan. Hit another one off the tee after you top your first one, to the ladies' tee box. But effort is something that no matter who your head coach is, that's got to be front and center. Mm-hmm. And, I was never, to be honest with you, I was never a Mike McCarthy fan. Everybody says he's a great coach, and he did win a Super Bowl, yes, and that kind of cements your legacy in the NFL. But you got to remember, Mike McCarthy was a head coach in Green Bay for 14 years. During those 14 years, his quarterbacks were named Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. I will tell you that only winning one Super Bowl of those two Hall of Famers is underachieving.
Yeah.
And don't look now, but in his last 40 games as a head coach, guys, Mike McCarthy's last 40 games in the NFL as a head coach, 14, 25, and 1. I was never thrilled with him at the start, and I'm not saying he's getting fired tomorrow, but I guarantee you Jerry Jones in his private moments is scratching his head thinking,
what have I done here? Because this is ugly.
Well, I've asked this to other analysts, Richie, and I'll ask it to you. On the opening press conference there, I went up there, and Jerry said his famous quote was, "I heard bells." I'm wondering now, are those weren't wedding bells? Those were maybe alarm bells, and he just misdiagnosed it?
I think those are the funeral bells that they ring at the church, up there in the tower whenever they're having the procession down the street. No, is Mike McCarthy going to get fired tomorrow or this offseason? It would be extremely surprising to me. But as Jerry Jones likes to say, he's 77, 78 years old now. I don't have a lot of time to have a good time. So his trigger finger's a little quicker. His patience is growing thinner, and he's got to be just absolutely it's destroying him inside, because I'm sure you guys have talked about this today. The insult to last night is now that the NFL is now, and NBC is flexing the Cowboys out of Week 16.
I was going to bring that up next. Yeah.
Instead of showing, Cowboys 49ers Sunday night on December 20th, they're switching to Browns Giants, which at one time was laughable. But the Cowboys can be unsuccessful. They hadn't won a Super Bowl in 25 years. But if you tell Jerry Jones, you're not only unsuccessful, you're irrelevant. Now you're hitting him where it really hurts him. And if nothing else, that may make him make some changes along the coaching staff. Maybe not McCarthy, but you can't keep doing this. This product they put out there last night was just an insult to Cowboys fans.
I had to do a double take on what I saw with the flex, because the Cowboys have been flexed into games, replacing others, even if they were languished in 500 football. And that is wow. And that I would think that bothers Jerry more than 3-9.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's unprecedented. The NBC started doing Sunday Night Football in 2006. The Cowboys have been flexed into that game. And NBC's like, hey, we don't like this game. Let's show the Cowboys their great ratings. That's happened 11 times. They've never, ever been kicked off the primetime lineup until this week. And like you said, that hits Jerry, unsuccessful. He's dealt with that for a quarter century. Irrelevant is a new thing, and it's going to be a very uncomfortable thing.
Richie, I think there's, an expectation that there were probably some changes along the coaching staff, but player-wise, I know there's contracts and things that come into play, but just player-wise, based on what you've seen this season, what have you, gathered as far as maybe some of the bigger disappointments or guys that you expected to perform at a much higher level?
How long is this show again?
Yeah, we got an hour and a half. You're good.
I mean, I hate to say it, but the guys that got paid they're not living up to it. DeMarcus Lawrence was a non-factor last night. He is paid like a disruptive, like a Khalil Mack, like an Aaron Donald. He is paid to be a playmaker, and he's just non-existent. Leighton Vander Esch last night, guys, was totally lost. We've never seen that from him. That's why I don't think it's all players, because these are the same players we saw last year, and they weren't giving up 300 yards rushing last year. They weren't giving up 300 yards rushing 2 years ago. And a guy like Jalen Smith, who that right there might have been the worst moment for me last night, was 3rd and 3 late in the game, and Lamar Jackson just kind of tiptoes and waltzes his way for a 4-yard scramble on 3rd down to get a key first down. And you guys saw it. And they out of bounds. Him and Jalen Smith are tapping each other on the helmet, and they both leave with this big smile. Now, again, I've covered Randy White. I've covered Cliff Harris, DeMarcus Ware, Charles Haley. You think those guys are going to tap Lamar Jackson on the helmet and have a big laugh about it? They're getting punked on national TV and falling to 3-8. You think that's funny to them? Mindset is a major problem with these guys. I don't think it's really a talent thing, but it's more of a mental thing, and they've regressed under Mike McCarthy. There's no doubt about it.
Richie, I don't think you're quite old enough, but if Dyron Talbert did that to Roger Staubach back in the 70s, the earth would stop. The earth
I
would
remember.
on its axis. Yes.
Dyron separated Roger's shoulder on a quarterback sneak, and every player on that sideline wanted to go to war. To get Rodgers back. And you remember the Redskins this year up in Washington when Andy Dalton slid and Bostic took his head off. It troubled me. It alarmed me that no Cowboys player came to his rescue. Now, you don't want to see an all-out brawl. You'd rather not get a 15-yard penalty. But the way they just shrugged in reaction to that vicious hit kind of told me there's problems on this team that go much deeper than talent. It's chemistry, it's camaraderie, it's mindset, and that starts with the head coach, and that's regressed since Jason Garrett left. And I wasn't the biggest Jason Garrett fan, but 8-8 looks pretty good right about now, doesn't it?
No, it does. It would win the division. The emotion of the Bostic hit on Dalton, there was more emotion from Bostic's teammates. Like,
Exactly.
oh, my God, what are you doing, than anyone that came to the defense of Andy Dalton. But, that's – man, this is a mess. This is an absolute mess.
There's no doubt about it. And America sees it, and now NBC sees it, and Jerry Jones looks in the mirror today. He sees it more clearly than any of us. And it's going to be, the games from here on out are pretty much meaningless. And you can wipe away the season and say, hey, look, it was 2020. You put an asterisk by every sports champion that gets a crown this year. But there's a way to compete. There's a way to lose with dignity and promise, and the Cowboys are showing none of that. It's like they've tapped out, and that's just inexcusable.
Yeah. Richie, I was on a Bengals podcast earlier this morning, and they were asking me.
God bless you. What are you doing there?
They were asking me all these questions about Jerry Jones, and I said, listen, Jerry Jones is maybe the greatest owner in pro sports. I mean, there's nobody better at owning anything than Jerry is at owning the Cowboys. He is at his peak. He is a bottom 10 general manager, and part of it is if you compare him to, say, the Ravens or the Steelers, who have like a singular mission of these are the players that we like, this is what we like, this is how we do with contracts, and this is how we handle coaches. He is not afraid to innovate and change, but he likes to do that too much. Am I pretty much on point with that?
I think you're right. And again, nobody's going to argue with Jerry as a businessman. You buy the Cowboys for $140 million, and today he could sell them for $5 billion. I mean, the conversation stops right there. But yes, as far as the way he gets too attached to his players, or he swings the other way and says, you know what, I'm going to tighten the bootstraps this year, and we're not going to go get and pay money for a safety like Earl Thomas. We're not going to pay money for a safety like Jamal Adams. We're going to stick with the guys we have, Xavier Woods, and we're left with, the guys that are out there. There's a Rashard Robinson that's out there. These guys are making minimum contracts, and it shows. It's just the way Jerry swings from one way to the other. Like you said, there's not a consistent commitment. There's not a blueprint when it comes to player development and when it comes to, just having an identity on defense. I mean, Mike Nolan, for all he's done in his career, whatever he's doing is not working. And Mike McCarthy on offense, again, you lose Dak, you lose Tyron Smith. Again, you can kind of say injuries screwed up the offense in 2020. But the defense, they're pretty much healthy, and there's no excuse for what they're doing. And as good a businessman as Jerry is, he's searching for answers right now on which way to swing next.
Richie, is he still the guy that will hear from a lot of people, want to bounce things off a lot of people, but the last person that gets to him, which is either Steven or – is he still the last one in front of him wins?
100%. He is still the king of the Cowboys. Now, Steven has grown in power, and Steven is obviously the heir to the throne, and Steven sits in on a lot of league meetings, but he doesn't sit in instead of Jerry. He sits in alongside of Jerry. And his daughter, Charlotte Anderson, who's on a bunch of NFL committees, she's got some power as far as, some of the community stuff and the stuff that's not really football related. So the family is in power. The family is growing. But end of the day, when the Cowboys make a decision, Jerry Jones either thought of it or Jerry Jones was made to agree with it. So, these are Jerry's Cowboys, for better or for worse, and right now it's much, much worse.
Anything else, Paul? Yep. Great. Hey, Richie, great to hear from you, my friend. I love that when, you're right. You brought the truth serum and some of the zingers, and we appreciate it. That's why we had you on. We knew we'd get that from you. Thanks for your time, and good luck the rest of the way. Be safe.
All right, Smokey. We love you guys.
You too. That's Richie Witt. Again, he longtime writer. He doesn't pull any punches. And I saw the tweet when he mentioned if Troy Aikman is taking shots at the team that he loves, even though he's got to be, it's not like Troy hadn't been critical. There's some Cowboy fans that think he's too critical. He shouldn't be that critical. No, I respect him for that. Daryl Johnston does that. I respect him for that as well. Michael Irvin, he's a cheerleader. I mean, it doesn't mean he won't like rip somebody, but he's a cheerleader. He is.
He's a Jerry guy. He's one of Jerry's, closest allies and friends, and he's going to have a harder time than most in never getting too negative, as most of them do. But I mean, it's got to that point where if you're not, saying those types of things, and you're just lying to your audience by not bringing those things up, because yes, there was the Dak injury early on, and look, that kind of crushed everybody's hopes right out of the gate, but. As we were talking about with John, you look at the Redskins, you look at Washington, you look at the Giants, you look at the Eagles to an extent, but more so the Washington and the Giants. They've got every excuse to just be terrible and to be fighting for the first overall pick, and yet they're out there and they're beating up the Cowboys, and it's like
winning at Pittsburgh and Seattle.
Trying to go win the division. And look, I'm not changing my mind on the division not being that big of a deal besides the automatic playoff berth.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there is something there for Washington and New York that is a big deal for them because they have been so bad here lately. So to get in the playoffs would be a huge deal, and they're taking advantage of Dallas not really being all that interested. And it's just not a good look for the Cowboys.
When you got to take a break,
real
Pat
quick,
Nunley.
Just real quick on the broadcasters. If you want to, they're supposed to tell the truth, right? That's their job, to tell the truth and assess things as they see it. Do you want to know why Phil Simms is in the studio and not in the booth right now? It's because he was too soft on. I mean, that was the criticism of him, is that somebody would be playing, like a quarterback would be playing bad. He's like, well, that's a tough throw to make. And then.
Yeah, you don't want to be overly the other way, just be critical to be critical. But, you just got to be honest about it when you're analyzing. So that's what I love about Brandel Chambly on the Golf Channel, or Johnny Miller and others. Who was Lanny Watkins? Some are a little bit softer than others, but a guy hits a bad shot, say it's a bad shot, whether it's Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, or some rookie who just came on the tour. When we come back, Baylor and SFA tonight, men's basketball. We heard from Jerome Tang. Let's hear from the color analyst of Baylor men's basketball, Pat Nunley, next on Sic'Em365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace, Brian Bauer, spoke with him earlier today. I say that, I texted him earlier today. He's busy. I mean, his head's spinning. They've got deliveries to make. They've got restaurants to take care of. They've got product that you are eating at restaurants and also home. This is what they do. The Bauer family's been amazing when it comes to what they do, and got a couple of nuggets here on what they're doing as well when it comes to the holidays, because they have some gift boxes, from steak boxes that include even lobster tails, or even like a snack box. Here's what they have. And go-to things for Christmas and the holidays for meals: beef tenderloin, boneless pit ham, smoked turkeys, just like Thanksgiving, and prime rib roast. You just tell them how much you want. A variety steak box that includes 4 ribeyes, or 4 bacon wrap fillets, or 4 New York strips that all come with steak butter, range from anywhere from $50 to $55 to $70. It depends on which steak you want. The fall snack box for watching a game or having somebody over if they're just kind of sitting there visiting with you, or maybe if you are still having some sort of a gathering, but not a lot of people, or maybe it is. The split horn, the sausage, the summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese and salted crackers, $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with the herb butter, and 2 bacon wrap fillets, that's $60. You have to order online or call them, or go by there and say, hey, this is what I want, and they can get it together for you. Order online, call in advance, make sure the availability, the product is there, and they'll take care of you at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. A full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin, specially ordered prime rib roast, and then every single day, fresh baked bread and kolaches in their bakery, and a grocery store with all the canned goods and boxed dinners, whatever you want, up and down the aisle with pasta and chips, and then, of course, to the right, cold beer and wine and soft drinks as well. It's Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville, but we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, "Your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy," that's a bit harsh. Instead, try something like, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And then if they refuse, you can say, "Well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state." Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sic'Em365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Earlier today, assistant head coach Jerome Tang joined us as we started the show. And Baylor tonight against Stephen F. Austin at the Farrell Center. And this is an interesting matchup, to say the least, the history between the two teams. And both teams that might have had their hearts broken more than anybody when the tournament was shut down and all the postseason as it was going on in March, because SFA might have had a Sweet 16 team. Pat Nunley, former Baylor basketball star and also color analyst of Baylor basketball on the radio. This is a little bit of a dangerous matchup, even with Baylor as good as they are, is it not, Pat?
It is. They were 28-3 a year ago. I think you nailed it, Smokey. They had an elite team, and you win 28 games. I don't care what league you're in. If you're playing at the Division I level, you're good, and they were. And so they suffered the consequences like everybody else. But I think, like us, it was acute for them. I mean, it really hurt. They had a special team that was headed for some special things, and so it was disappointing. But like everybody else, you just play on.
Pat, Stephen F. Austin, we heard from Jerome Tang, plays kind of a bit of a different defense. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for Baylor tonight?
I think it's kind of the same thing, Paul. I mean, they're keys to every game and other wrinkles to every game plan, but for the most part, It's 11 or less turnovers in the game, and that's exactly where they're averaging right now. It's more offensive and defensive rebounds than the opponent, and then it's hold them to 38% shooting or less from the floor. I don't think that really changes tonight. Some of the wrinkles for Stephen F. Austin, you really can't turn it over. You can't have live ball turnovers because this team – now, again, we're still feeling – I mean, everybody's trying to figure out what they have, and you're feeling one another out. But this team can really score, and their promotional stuff says that they go fast, and they do. They are looking to turn you over. So you got to take care of the basketball, and you've got to make sure that you get back in transition. And Baylor has been pretty good at that. You haven't seen teams gain an advantage with transition baskets. And so those are the things I think that have to go right tonight. Baylor just needs to continue to do the things that it has done very well. Offensive rebounding, guard play. And so I think, again, so far so good. But this is a test tonight for sure.
A couple of those areas that you mentioned there, Pat, I think a guy like JTT will be, part of making sure that takes place or that they get that part of the job done. What have you made of what you've seen from him actual in live game action, just the energy that he brings?
I really like him. I mean, I like him personally because he's just polite. He's energetic. He smiles all the time. He is yes, sir, no, sir. And you know what he is, and don't take this the wrong way, but he is Mark Vidal's energy in a body that's 3 inches taller and 10 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
Now, he's not Mark yet, but he's in that league. I mean, he really this is his 4th year or 5th year to play the game. And so when they're working with him on stuff, it was interesting. I was watching practice recently, and they were working on him doing a pick and roll, setting a screen and then rolling the basket. And because he hasn't played, he didn't understand the timing of it. Don't go so quick. Delay, set the screen, get the screen set, then roll. And I mean, he's just a sponge. He's taking it all in. But those little things about the game that are really, really important at this level, he just doesn't have yet. And when he gets those things figured out, he's going to be really, really good because right now he's playing on pure emotion and he's got game. I mean, he's a big guy and his numbers are really good. Like you talk about running the floor. One thing you want to know about a big guy is can he run the floor? He sprints the floor. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like 100-yard dash watching him go from one end to the other. So he's been fun to watch. Yeah.
I actually saw a teammate retweet something of JTT made a shot and blistered back down the court, and they were like, "Why are you running so fast?" I mean, it's like,
yeah.
So I bet he probably wins the gassers if he can have enough of that cardio. He probably has those long legs and his athleticism. Pat, the one thing SFA can do is put pressure, of course, on the defense and force the turnovers, as you mentioned. But Baylor has so many guards. Right? Is that something that allows them to be able to handle this better, you think, tonight?
Yes, absolutely. These guards are really good. I don't know how else to put it. They handle the ball well. And something else, and this has kind of been striking, like we played Illinois, I mean, our guards are bigger than they are. And this is a Big Ten team. And they don't have small guards. I mean, the Sumo, 6'6", 215 or something. But our guards are built like outside linebackers, and they play the part. So it's hard to get up in one of our guards, and it helps when you've got 4. I mean, we've got a stable of 5, but when you got 4 on the floor, you don't lose much. This is a rugged, talented, tough-minded, hard-nosed group of guards, and it's hard to take the ball from them. It really is.
Pat, with the defense that they play, they looked early on that they weren't like adjusting to it in the first couple games, but then they woke back up. Do you think that they'll still be able to maintain the defense that they had last season with the newfound offense that they're going to have?
I do, Paul. That first game, they gave up, 82 or something to Louisiana, and I think they were very disappointed about that. Second game, they got back to the groove and held Washington to, in the 60s, as I recall. But no, I think they still have that. One thing that Davion Mitchell, I think, is doing better this year than he did last year defensively, if that's possible. His off-the-ball defense is better. I think he has better court awareness defensively than he has before. I don't think there's a better on-the-ball defender, certainly in the Big 12 last year, maybe in the country. He still is that, but I think he also is understanding the bigger picture defensively as well. And that's a nuance, but it's important. But defensively, at the guard spot in particular, they're quite good. And they've got another guy now to the mix, Adam Flagler, who is Devontae Bandu plus. He's that plus he is a great defender. So he fits right in.
Pat, when it comes to this coaching staff, I mean, we saw Drew have to, obviously miss time a few days ago because of COVID, and Jerome Tang slides in. They got Alvin Brooks, and it goes on and on. Just how special of a group is this? And, what did you see from Jerome Tang and just kind of him the other night being the head coach out there on the floor? Obviously, that's in his future, but how special is this group?
Well, they're unique. They are. They do so many things off the floor that nobody sees, that they don't get paid for, but are all about growing this team. I mean, you guys may know this, each coach, and it's a coach, and it's part of what they're there to do, runs a chapel the day of each game, and they rotate, but they do it. And when you hear the sessions that they run, and they got PowerPoints, they bring in videos, they have music. And so it's work to do that. And they love it. They do it every game. And it's not in their job description to do it. But what's happened is it's built a culture among the entire program around kind of a servant leadership idea. I'll be very brief with this. But the other day, we're in line, buffet line, and before one of the games, or maybe in between games. But for COVID reasons, we wanted our guys who had each been tested serving. And so all the GAs and managers were behind the buffet line with gloves on serving. Well, Scott was going to have none of that. So he went up and he got the coaching staff. They served the players. They put on gloves and they did it. Wow. Now, that's just different. I think. I'm not around. I mean, that's who they are. And so that's a long answer to a short question, but it is unique and it is special.
Pat, thank you for coming on. Anything else, Greg, Paul? Thank you for coming on. Game day, we'll see you at the Farrell Center. I was there for the women's game when they played, I guess it was Central Arkansas, whoever it was. And, of course, things are different. Are you up in the Crow's Nest broadcasting? Is that where you're at?
I think so tonight. I mean, we haven't been in the Farrell Center yet. I think, and John and I are doing TV tonight, so I think we are way up.
Yeah, I think so. It's a little bit unique for sure, and especially with basketball, because one thing about basketball, I did the high school and never did the college games, but, man, you're right there. You hear the sneakers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you see, you are right there at a perfect location, so good luck with that.
Pat will know how I feel when we go to the NCAA tournament and they put me up somewhere.
Up like the Madison Square Garden, remember? They had to bring binoculars for a basketball game.
I tell you, when we were in, where were we? Indianapolis, it was so quiet in there, it was unnerving. It was disturbing how quiet it was.
Wow.
And so that won't be the case tonight, but you guys know it's a different ball game, and you just got to read and react. So here we go. It's going to be fun, though. It's going to be good playing again tonight.
Good luck. Thank you very much. Pat Nunley with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. We've been moving around. John Machota had to move from 5 to 3:45 because of Mike McCarthy's press conference. Pat Nunley here. We have some audio that I think you're going to want to listen to when it comes to Kim Mulkey. I asked her a question today about how she handles coaching her team after a loss based on the time available. There's some youth here, but also Kim, there's this thing out about Coach K and Mike Krzyzewski saying he's not so sure this is a good idea to go on with basketball. Well, of course, there were some, including the Big Ten, that weren't so sure they should go on with football. Here we are. Teams are getting close to conference championship games. Yes, there's some changes. Yes, there's games missed. And yes, there's still, you got to be careful. I'm not so sure where Kim is on this. And she kind of talks about it a little bit, about this season. And so that's coming up at 5 o'clock. I think that's something, we'll do that at 5, because we have Olin coming up at 4:45 on A&M. Did I screw you guys up on that? Armstrong?
No, we were just confused if you were pitching to it or if you were previewing
Oh,
it.
you were ready for the red button. Like,
yeah.
Boom. Yeah, no, we're going to wait till 5 with Kim because it's like 5 or 6 minutes worth. Hannah Gusters was there with her today as well. I want to get into a couple of things before we break for Olin. I saw this RJ Choppy from 105.3 The Fan. There's a lady and a resident in a neighborhood that got a letter claiming that her Christmas lights are harmful and a reminder of systemic biases. She received a letter that said, the twinkling, colorful lights are a reminder of the division that runs through our country and that such display can be harmful impact. Remember we learned yesterday that not everybody's watched Charlie Brown. I'm going to try to have one of these every day.
I don't understand how you make that jump.
Because you're mentally ill.
Yeah, I mean, like twinkling lights.
Like where you are, like twinkling, like that's like A is twinkling, like A, Christmas, B, lights, C, systemic biases in our country.
Killeen High School announced last night that they're about to add Chaparral High School that will open up in 2022. You have Lake Belton, which is going to split up, has already split up part of Belton ISD, right? You have Shoemaker, Harker Heights, Ellison, and Killeen High.
Better get used to your new district, Midway.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because that will chip away. Now, I saw where they said the school district would have like an enrollment of 3,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's freaking ridiculous how big Killeen is. That's their 6th high school.
Yeah, who's the other? We got Shoemaker, Ellison,
Harker Heights,
and Killeen High, and there's another one that they announced like a year ago or so?
So 5th or 6th.
5th or 6th, yeah.
Or so if it's their 5th or whatever, but that's the 5th school, and it's going to have 3,000 plus students. The 5th 6A high school, and they're just going to have 3. I mean, what Killeen should do is just consolidate the schools and call themselves Allen, because that's what Allen does basically. Because they should have about 4 different high schools, and instead they just have 10,000 kids on campus. And Killeen, meanwhile, is building schools to accommodate everybody
to have their own district.
And if they just built one mega school, Killeen High, then that would be the equivalent to Allen, basically.
The gray wolves.
Yeah, I mean, could not work. I mean, that's just way too many kids and way too many schools. But I mean, that's incredible how many people are living down there.
So here's part of the story on KDHnews.com. I hope I don't get this where I have to go to some sort of a paywall here, but yeah, they're going to add the school will be named Chaparral. It was a 4-3 vote to add it to Killeen ISD. Now, I'm trying to find out. Okay, so you have Killeen High. I'm missing a school.
And Copper's Cove is just outside. I mean,
yeah, but it's not Killeen ISD.
No.
It's not Killeen ISD. I'm missing a school here, and I don't know who it's going to be.
Shoemaker, Harker Heights, Ellison, and Killeen.
That's 4. And then this is saying it's the 6th high school.
Which is why I said what I said. So I don't know what else, unless I'm just forgetting something here.
Yeah, but that's fine. But they are growing. We know, and of course, Fort Hood yesterday in the news for all the wrong reasons. But that's another story that will be interesting on how that affects Belton, because they're going to lose some students with Lake Belton, and that will kind of become a little bit of an attrition. And then what Temple does, because they've been up and down between 5A and 6A.
So what are the Belton schools going to be, a couple of 5As?
I don't know how that's going to affect them. I didn't get a chance to call Randall Hugg.
There's also Killeen Gateway High School.
Okay. Well, does it say an opening date on that one, Paul? Because that makes a difference, obviously.
I don't. I think that it might be kind of a different, a charter school or something.
I've had people that from Killeen ISD, when we used to go do games at Leo Buckley, tell me they wish they would all kind of look at the numbers and find a way to all be 5A. But it's getting to be such a, burgeoning, is that the right word? Yeah, burgeoning. It's just getting larger and larger.
Well, yeah, and if you're Temple, you're kind of in no man's land of, would you join all of the Killeen schools and that's who you play? Or are you with Belton? Or are you and Belton both with the Killeen schools?
I think Belton's large enough that one of the schools might eventually get back to that level, because Belton High was the largest of the 6A schools.
Yeah, I think Belton will be back up to 6A. But I'm just saying, that area went from, that's pretty easy to put together. We'll just split Waco from everybody. And now, because they're going to have 5 high schools, you could still, in theory, have Belton and Temple, and that's just your Central Texas district. But
Temple, Copper's Cove are on the edge of where they are in that level, depending on what it does next February.
Colleen.
No, not 2 February.
Colleen Gateway School is the alternative school.
Okay.
There's also a Pathways.
So there's 5. So there's 5 high schools. This will be the 5th actual school. But I mean, with 3,000 students, it says. I'm sure, man. That's right there in the meat section of Class 6A. Purdue and Indiana. Their game being canceled, it's the first time. Remember Ohio State, Michigan was like 1916 or 17? This is the first time the old, is it Wooden Bucket? Oaken Bucket will not be played since 1918 and 1919. It's amazing. When we come back, Olin Buchanan, A&M hanging in right at number 5, just behind Ohio State. His thoughts about that. This is Sic'Em365 Radio.
The holiday sales event is going on right now at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And right now you can save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock. Plus you can save as well on incoming 2021 GMC Sierra. Sierra, a truck with it all. It's got unbeatable technology, first-class seating, and a whole lot of power. Sierra's the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off of a 2021 GMC Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. Perhaps you're in the market for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV. We'll look no further than $7,000 off of GMC Terrains and $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. They also have compact SUVs with loads of space and style. The 2020 Buick Encore, right now available for only $18,950. That's a savings of over $5,000 on the top-selling Buick Encore. And at Richard Carr, not only do they have a lot of great deals, but they also love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all of these valuable community heroes will get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's the holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you. Save big. The holiday sales event. Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricusa.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. This segment with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs.com is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, with over 40 group exercise classes Monday through Sunday on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
All right, here we go. This 4 o'clock hour winding down. Kim Mulkey at 5 in the next hour. Also, we'll hear from Football Bob breaking down Baylor and the game at Norman and the game coming up against Oklahoma State. Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Olin, the Aggies continue. I thought I saw something where since they lost to Alabama, has every win they've had been double digits or better?
Well, not the Florida game.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, heck, but that's Florida. 1 point win against Florida is a hell of a win. So they've been taking care of their business. I know the beauty pageant, some people like different color hair. Some people like long legs or short legs. But, man, this is – you're going to go through what we did in 2014 trying to guess what they think.
Well, it just seems that I guess we've got conditioned to think that if you don't score in the 40s, that's not a sexy win, even if you keep your opponent to 7 points or, 17 or 3 or whatever. So I think A&M's playing really good defense. Even last week they had some problems against Auburn, but Auburn scored 20. And Auburn, I'm going to tell you, they have a lot of offensive talent in Auburn with the receivers, and Tank Bigsby was playing. Nix is good at home, so to hold Auburn to 20 points in Auburn, that's pretty solid performance.
Olin, Ole Miss was that was kind of a game that I thought might have been a bad matchup for them just based on Ole Miss's offense. Were you concerned about that at all?
Well, I think you got to be concerned with every game for this A&M team. I've said it before; they're good enough to beat every team, but not good enough to take anything for granted. But I would have kind of anticipated that it would have been a game, maybe I don't know, like the Arkansas game, in which I think A&M would have been able to move the ball anytime they wanted. Against Arkansas, you might remember A&M scored on 6 straight series, and I think they would have been able to move the ball on that Ole Miss defense, very consistently. And Ole Miss would have scored on A&M and probably scored quite a few, but I don't know that they would have been able to maybe score every 2 or 3 times they got the ball, like I think A&M would against Ole Miss defense. Ole Miss has the worst run defense in the SEC, and I think A&M would have taken advantage of that.
Was there ever any real traction whatsoever to trying to make an Ohio State A&M game happen this weekend?
No, I don't think so at all. I think it just came out that somebody said, "Hey, look at this! It's Monday or Tuesday, and both of these teams look like they're not going to play." And I think there's probably been a whole lot too much at stake for both programs to say, "Okay, we want to play this in 3 days, and then where are you going to play it? Who's going to agree to be on the road? And could you have gotten a neutral site ready?" I just don't think it was practical.
It's unfortunate because I saw a note, I mentioned this earlier, that it doesn't mean Ohio State's not good. But obviously the Big Ten changed their rules, and they want a team in the playoff, and I can understand the conference wanting their team in the playoffs. But that's the conference that tried to torpedo, as Craig used that term, torpedo college football season and thought everyone would just like, oh, my God, the Big Ten, they know everything. And here they are, the arrogant people who they are, changing their rules when that's what they said they wouldn't do after a couple of others wanted them to do that earlier this year. Your thoughts about what's going on with them?
Well, first of all, yeah, it's predictable. Secondly, if let's say that was Indiana, only playing 5 games but was unbeaten, I don't know that they'd be jumping through the same hoops and moving the goalposts like they are for Ohio State. Ohio State runs the Big Ten kind of way, Texas is seems to be in charge of the Big 12 and Alabama and the SEC and North Carolina and the ACC. It's the flagship program over there. So they're going to make allowances. Plus, let's face it, they want to the Big Ten want to get their team in the playoff, and Ohio State's really the only team that has a shot at it. So they're going to do whatever they need to do to try to get in the playoff.
What if Northwestern beats them?
That will be hilarious.
It'd be awesome.
And
what it would be.
I know there'll be a lot of happy Aggies if that happens. But we've seen Northwestern play, right? And they're a good, scrappy team, but I don't know that they're going to beat Ohio State. That said, we've been told by the quote eye test before that Ohio State was almost unbeatable, and then they go play Purdue a couple of years ago. And Purdue blows them out of the water, and the year before that, Iowa blows them out of the water. So it's not like it's never happened before. That just because we're told Ohio State is invincible, that they're not subject to getting beat.
Olin, it's been a weird year as far as, opt-outs and things like that, but the Aggies have had a couple guys opt back in, Elijah Blades being one of the bigger names. And is he suffering from myocarditis, or did I see somebody else that's dealing with that right now?
No, I think that's a Florida guy.
Okay, Florida guy. Okay, but Elijah Blades.
No, Miami guy.
Okay, when could they potentially? I mean, do you see him returning to the lineup? Is that a possibility? I mean, what do you think of guys opting back in?
Well, Jimbo said a long time ago that he was going to keep that door open for him. He was saying, look, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of emotion going on, and confusion with the virus, emotion with the social justice issues and all that tumultuous stuff. So he said, young kids, a lot on their minds. So he's going to keep an open mind and leave the door open. Maybe some guys work some things out. Maybe they're feeling more secure. I think more than anything, they're saying, hey, this team is pretty good. And there's a bowl game coming up. And I think you get paid some money for mileage on a bowl game. Maybe it's time to jump back in. Now, Elijah Blades, I think, would have started at cornerback. I thought he was their best cornerback last year. That said, Jalen Jones, the freshman who started at cornerback opposite Miles Jones, has really been really good since the Alabama game. And I don't think they're going to do anything to interrupt that or upset that apple cart. I think Elijah Blades comes in, and when he gets physically ready, and they wouldn't let him suit up until he's practiced enough so that they feel like it's safe for him that he's ready to go physically. But I think he'll be just a depth guy, and he may or may not play. But they're going to let him suit up and be there if they have an opportunity for him. Let him play.
Do you see any seniors next year coming back?
I don't. Now I'll tell you the guys that I think might have it. I wouldn't say 100% won't. Ryan McCollum is having a really good year at center. He didn't get to play last year because of bulging disc in his back. And maybe he thinks, if I can put together 2 healthy years in a row, I'll have a better chance to play pro ball. But he might say, hey, I've been injured. I don't want to risk it again. I think Aaron Hansford, who came to A&M as a tight end under someone, even though he didn't have a tight end, Jimbo got here, moved him to linebacker. He was a really well thought of high school linebacker, and he's playing really well. But this is his first year to be a starter, so he may say, "Hey, look, I need another year to prove myself." Keldrick Carper's the safety. He's been a backup, real smart guy. I don't know that he thinks he has an NFL future. Maybe he does, but if he doesn't, he might be the type of guy that's going to go to grad school or something. And if they're going to be for another year, why not take it? So I think with all these travel issues with COVID virus, everything everybody's concerned about, we could ever stay in state and have a Miami-Florida matchup. And, they can, I guess, go to the SEC and try to work that out. And so in that case, A&M would be going to the Cotton Bowl against either Oklahoma or Iowa State. Another thing that, less travel. So I think it's 50-50. Either one of those things could happen.
Okay.
If I was betting on it, I would bet that A&M will end up in the Cotton Bowl.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Olin. Great stuff. All right. That's Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. College football playoff, the top 6 continue the same. Now, Iowa State did go ahead of Cincinnati.
And they should. I mean, I know that Cincinnati's unbeaten, but Iowa State's played a much tougher schedule than Cincinnati has.
And if you sit there and look at what they've done recently, and I know Cincinnati had to back out of their game with Tulsa. That's unfortunate for both those programs. But that gives the Big 12 a Hail Mary's chance. They used to have no chance. Now, I'm talking like Kyler Murray to, what's his name? DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah.
But if Florida loses to Alabama, then that's a team with 2 losses. If Ohio State loses to Northwestern on the prayer that would happen, then, and then you get down to, do you put in Texas A&M if Iowa State's the conference champion of the Big 12, do you put in a non-conference champion over a conference champion?
I got a question. Ohio State's 5-0, right?
Yes.
Who the hell have they beaten?
No one.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Indiana, okay, number 12, Indiana. I just looked at this. Southern Cal is 4-0. Colorado's 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
There's not even any discussion. That's one less game. They're not even in the discussion. In fact, they are in the college football playoffs, 15-21. USC's a brand name.
I guess not enough of one.
They're not Ohio State brand name.
Well, I would say if you did your history of college football, top 10,
that's
of course, that would include teams
like Nebraska,
Penn State, whatever, Texas, and they're not right now. They're not, they're not a part of the elite. But, I just happened to look, I was like, wait a minute. Southern Cal just beat the heck out of somebody like on Sunday night. I forgot who it was. But there's not even, is the Pac-12 awake?
Well, I mean, we would have gotten to see a lot more, but the Colorado game got canceled last weekend, so they've not really even played in 2 weeks, USC that is. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that they're really, the strongest.
They just beat Washington State 38-13, beat Utah.
State's okay.
I know, but,
I mean, I don't think that there's such a disparity, so I understand what you're saying, but on paper and the eye test, I think it's very clear who the better team is. And, yes, this is all – if this was Northwestern – in Ohio State's position, I don't think people would be going as crazy over it, but it is Ohio State, and so it is different.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, we're looking for fairness, and we're looking for similarities in a sport where it's all about being as unfair as possible and trying to find every advantage that you possibly can. And so that's what the Big Ten's doing, just like the Big 12 would. If the Big 12 had done the same thing, you don't think that they would be trying to push Oklahoma right now if Oklahoma had only played in 5 games?
Yeah,
absolutely they would.
All right.
So I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
Now, the Broyles Award, Frank and Barbara Broyles Foundation, the top assistant coaches. Kendall Broyles won this one year when he was at Baylor. Here is a list of, where did Tim Beck once coach?
Texas.
Now, he was at other places,
Minnesota.
too. Nebraska. Jeff Lebby, by the way, Ole Miss's offensive coordinator. We know he was at Baylor. He's up for this. There's about 50 names. Well, hold on. Todd Orlando, where did he coach?
Texas.
Darrell Wyatt, wide receivers coach. I think he was at Oklahoma and Texas.
Yep.
There are 3 of the coaches up for the Assistant Coach of the Year award, and we're all run out.
I don't know if I told you this, but I was watching, I guess it was when Florida State, got their, pummeled by NC State. But
you could have just named a team.
But NC State and Tim Beck. So the announcers were talking about how innovative and brilliant Tim Beck was, and I thought if anybody in Austin is watching this game, they're going, Tim Beck, that Tim Beck, same guy?
Yeah.
And because that's what was the explanation for him getting shoved out of Austin, was that Tim Beck couldn't call plays. Tim Beck didn't know anything. Well, Tim Beck was never calling the plays. Tom Herman was.
Well, I thought that was, I just happened to know, first of all, Joseph Gillespie, who's under Philip Montgomery's staff at Tulsa, was the head coach, longtime assistant coach at Stephenville. He's on this list as well. But I believe that Darryl Wyatt, Tim Beck, and we know Todd Orlando were all a part of staffs at UT that were pushed out. And not all of them have done well, but that says something. Of course, Jeff Lebby, Baylor pushed out. And now he's been at, Florida Atlantic, UCF, and now at Ole Miss with Randy Clements there with Lane Kiffin. John Rothstein, 849 college basketball games scheduled to have been played by now. 670 have been scheduled or have played. 179 canceled or postponed. That's 78.9% of the games have taken place. That's okay, isn't it? That's a good number.
That's 4 out of 5.
Considering that some people don't want to get out of their house and they want to live in a bunker. And whatever you want to do, live your own life. Let us live ours, you live yours. That's fine. But Coach K, and I saw Christine Brennan in the USA Today say, oh, my God, we should cancel basketball. And there might be a time that happens again like it did in March.
Oh, my God, somebody from the national media overreacted to something. Oh, my gosh.
And it's because Coach K says it. And I'm gonna read the article. I'm probably going to make my blood pressure go up. But Kim Mulkey today kind of alluded to this year. And so we're going to have her coming up from earlier today. Hannah Gusters was part of the media session. They flew to West Virginia. They played in the Marlin. That's a tough little start of the Big 12. I kind of thought, and I thought Chad Conine made her follow up with this. I don't know if we're going to use this part, but I kind of heard her, she's not using excuses. But I do think there's a little disconnect with her team right now because of a lot of the reasons that's going on. And they're young, and this is a bad year to be young. So we'll have that from her and a couple of questions I asked her as well next on Sic'Em365 Radio.
Lance Donaldson at eXp Realty. If you're trying to sell a home, if you're trying to look for a new home, you need to give him a call, 254-214-3713. Lance is a fantastic realtor. He's going to show you all his great listings. He's going to help you find whatever it is you are looking for in a home because Lance is that kind of guy who's a fantastic listener. He's great to hang out with. He's great to be around. And you're going to enjoy looking for houses with him. You might have to look for 20, 30. I don't know how many houses I went into when I was looking for my house. I went into a lot of houses before I found the right one for me. And look, I found the right 3 for me, and the offers I made in the first 2, got dwarfed by someone with more money than me. So again, it's a process, and the markets can get crazy. Lance can help you navigate all that. So check him out online, LanceDonaldson.exprealty.com, or just Google Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty. It'll pop right up. Give him a call, 254-214-3713.
Christmas time is Jeep time at Allen Samuels. It's the big finish event, and the world's most awarded SUV has 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on select models. Save thousands on the rugged Renegade and new 2020 Grand Cherokees. Even new 2021 Jeep Cherokees are included. 0%, no payments for 90 days. Employee pricing for all. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrapped fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Yeah, it got him going. It got him going for sure. And us seeing him get going, it got us going even more. So, yeah, he like that at practice. When the energy's low, he helps pick us up and get us rolling.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Welcome back into Sic'Em365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, David Smoke will join us in just 1 second. But the Lady Bears getting ready to play West Virginia. Conference already starting. The Lady Bears have a loss. West Virginia's 4-0. The Lady Bears 2-1 after dropping the game to Arkansas. West Virginia on the road to open up conference coming up tomorrow night. And of course, Kim Mulkey and some players met with the media today. Hannah Gusters was one of them. Here is a portion of that press conference where Kim Mulkey addresses coming off the loss and other issues facing the Lady Bears as they head to Morgantown.
And as far as kind of following up on what Jerry said as well, you've got both Queen and Alyssa who give the team height inside. How much do you feed off of them, and how much have they helped you as part of leadership to understand what's expected to be a Baylor Lady Bear basketball player?
They've definitely stepped up and helped me a lot, and definitely taught me how to be stronger and be tougher throughout practices and games. And they definitely hype me up when I do good. And I learn different counter moves and things from them every day, and jumping on every shot. So they're definitely a big help.
Kim, obviously after the loss, you have had, one, maybe 2 practices. Earlier you were asked about defending or fouls, whatever. What are you like after a loss? Is it one of those where you're tougher, or is it sometimes when you then embrace them even more?
I think it depends on the team, and it depends on what kind of loss it was. A loss is a loss, but some of those losses are you got to be fair to your team, the makeup of your team, what you have, how did you play. When I scheduled this game, I knew it would be very, the SEC, when it was scheduled, I should say. I knew it was going to be tough. You have to know your personnel and know what you're going through. I've said it many times with this COVID stuff, the teams that are the most successful are the ones that have returning players and the experience, because coaching right now is not the norm. It's not normal. You can't get in your locker room. You can't get on the board. You can't get in the film room. You got to find places to spread out. There's just not that coaching feel going on right now. So the teams that have those returning players, they're at an advantage. They're at an advantage under normal circumstances. but they're really at an advantage now. You saw the losses last night. Duke men get beat by Illinois. It's a learning curve right now that's not fair to young teams because they don't even really know what it feels like to go in a locker room and watch film, or what it feels like to go in a locker room and change your clothes at your locker and see your name on your locker. Those are a part of college athletics that I miss and that the new ones don't even know anything about yet. So I knew what we faced. I knew the style of offense. I thought, looking at the film and breaking it down for myself last night, I'm not near as disappointed as I thought I would be. I think it's very difficult to coach with a mask on. I can't get up in a referee without them saying, put your mask on, put your mask on. So, I mean, it's like, how do you get your team energized if you can't take your mask off and scream and get excited and do those things? It's like walking around like a bunch of mummies, wrapped up. And so we will do the best that we can to grow. We will not lose our confidence, but it's not going to happen overnight where all of a sudden, man, that one loss and man, we're going to be all world. We've got a lot of growth, both on offense and defense, to do. And all you do is the best you can do under the circumstances.
Kim, NaLyssa Smith, obviously her freshman year, she was dynamic when you needed her to be, but you had Kalani and then Lauren Cox. Then last year you had Lauren Cox, and it's one thing to be good, but it's another thing then to be the person that has to be the player. Is NaLyssa ready for that challenge this year by being the one inside? And she has to, I know Queen's there and Hannah, but is she ready for that challenge to take on this team on her shoulders?
Well, first of all, NaLyssa is not a back to the basket, give me a big presence and a target down there like Cox and Kalani are. So they drew a lot of attention when we would get them touches down there at the block, which allowed NaLyssa to move and maneuver and get baskets either off passes, off offensive rebounds, face-up jumpers. So she is not the same type of post player that they were and that draws attention. NaLyssa is what you, I guess, would call like a stretch four type of post player. So NaLyssa's game is different. Here's the difference today with NaLyssa versus the first 2 years. You said it. Cox and Kalani draw a lot of the attention defensively, and you can sneak in there and make things happen, and people don't have you as an emphasis on a scouting report when you are a freshman and a sophomore. Now she is, you can't hide her. She's going to be the first thing people talk about on a scouting report on how to defend her. So you allow her to understand that. I told her before the season ever started, as you sit with your team and you teach them how this thing works, I told her this will be your most difficult year. And I don't know that she understood that. I think she's understanding it now. And it has nothing to do with her work habits, nothing to do that she's doing anything different. It's who you're playing with now, who on the scouting report is being emphasized. Now, it doesn't help NaLyssa when you don't have a 5 player who's in foul trouble over there. You know, that's a part of the problem as far as the whole group being able to do things fluid and poised. So, you know, I'm not concerned about NaLyssa Smith shooting. Keep shooting it. You know, keep shooting it. That's just the way you get out of shooting slumps. And second way you get out of it is go do something else. Go get an offensive rebound. Get to the foul line. And she's doing that. She's averaging almost 11 rebounds a game. She's shooting great from the foul line. She's just, you know, she's not a hidden commodity for us anymore.
All right, that's Kim Mulkey. Tomorrow night, they open up conference play against West Virginia. What have they won, like 10 or 11 consecutive Big 12 championships? And obviously, they did lose the last one they played against Iowa State before the tournament was shut down. And they play West Virginia a team that's at times they've hammered them, and there are times that West Virginia got them up in Oklahoma City that one year, and I think even got them on the home court at Baylor once as well. All right, when we come back, 5:20.
Well, I mean, you had a whole thing earlier in the show about her comments and why they sounded like Dave Aranda's that you haven't really elaborated on at all as far as playing this season. And
yeah, I get the feeling that Kim's not so sure either about this season being played out.
I didn't take that from what she said at all. Just my opinion. I took it as just like there's some frustrations and there's some things that are not normal. Like you could tell the mask thing bothers her quite a bit, trying to run up and down the sidelines. But I don't know. I think she was more or less just saying that if you have a loaded team coming back, this is a lot easier on you than if you have a team that's far more inexperienced, because you're not only dealing with all of the things that are going on that are difficult enough as is, but then you add not having a Lauren Cox and a Kalani Brown, like a bunch of veterans back that know the deal already. You do have, Moon, and you've got Dee, obviously, and you've got some players like that, but for the most part, you're pretty young. And so I think that's the challenge that she was talking about, more so than like, should we even be doing this kind of a thing?
I get
and
what
maybe I'm wrong.
No, that we only played part of what she said. Okay. I feel like, and the next time she's available, which would be in the post game, maybe after West Virginia, tomorrow night, I'll try to have her clarify that. Just based on conversations, the text back and forth, I feel like she's not that far away from what Coach K is saying. But here's a title from Christine Brennan. Opinion: playing college basketball is madness with COVID-19 raging. Just ask the coaches. Which coaches?
Well, I think just like anything, you're going to get a split on that. And then that's her, that she said right off the bat, it's an opinion. I'm of the opinion I think they started too early. I think they should have maybe waited and played 2 non-conference games and then rolled into conference.
I said it a few weeks ago. I don't know why they decided to start before Christmas. Why?
I'm not debating when they started. But Stephen F. Austin is driving 3.5 hours across the state of Texas to play in a game tonight. So that's Kyle Keller. That's one. That's the opposite. I know that there's 300-some programs, 351 of them, I think. We know what Baylor's trying to do. They're trying to play. So, and it's Mike. Here's a man also said this: I would just like for the safety, the mental, physical health of the players and staff to assess where we're at. I get that. But a man, Mike Krzyzewski, said something. This column is because Mike Krzyzewski said something. Iona's Rick Pitino, though, has been outspoken. Save the season, move it back. And I would have been fine with that. Yeah. Play league, have May Madness, spiking in protocols, make it impossible to play right now. Dickie V, it's chaos. We need a czar for college basketball. You need a czar for everything now. Right now, there's no uniformity. People don't realize the mental frustration for the players and coaches.
No, we actually do, because we've been hearing about it for 6 months from football. So we very clearly know.
Exactly. So the title of this column, which she may not even have put up there, because the titles and headlines are sometimes written by the editor, playing college basketball is mad. No, it's an opinion piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opinion piece. Come on.
So, but because Mike Krzyzewski said it, and yes, Dickie V's got clout. Coach K, Rick Pitino, those are some big names. But there's 350-something college programs out there. So
yeah, but how many of them have won multiple national championships and are known on McDonald's commercials and the Olympic team and everything else? I mean, this is like if Bill Wooden said something, John Wooden, said something back in the day, and then you were like, well, yeah, but what is everybody else saying? Who gives a damn? It's John Wooden saying it, and that's the equivalent of Coach K saying it. So that's like that's Belichick coming out and saying something in the NFL. That's Saban in college football. That's the top of the line. And so that's why it matters more so than the coach from Winthrop.
Jeff Capel said something, right? Former Duke player. You don't think he's been on the phone with Coach K?
Oh, I think
I'm sure that they have discussed the same thing about how they feel. I do think that they could have waited. But what would waiting until January have done? There's 679 games have been played. 170 have been canceled or postponed. That's a pretty good percentage, in my opinion. That's 80%.
I'm saying, why did you need to start before Christmas? What was your reasoning that's when you were like, no, I think it's better if we do, because I know it's not going to change after Christmas. We're only going to see it get worse or raging or whatever stupid term we want to use. So it's not changing regardless. So why there was a rush to get them on the court at the normal timeline versus, hey, this is a weird year. Let's wait till after all of the holidays are over with, including New Year's, and then let's see where we are. Like, why bring everybody together, go play cross-country tournaments, do all this testing, and then you have the Christmas break and the New Year's break.
And tell your players they can't go home.
Can't go home for Christmas, guys. Sorry. And then you come back. And I just...
Would they have gone home for Christmas had the season been delayed to the first of the year?
Of course, because why would you not?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the protocol
Well, I'm saying, okay, if you're not going home for Christmas because of protocols, if there were not protocols because you're not playing...
So are you... But here's my question. And there's not... Wait a minute. You mean to tell me they're safer at home and not going to get COVID when they go home for the holidays than they are
they're not safe anywhere. But they're not safe anywhere.
I think
they're not safe anywhere.
You're not safe from COVID anywhere. I mean, like none of us are safe from COVID.
They're college athletes.
Yeah,
they're safe everywhere.
But I'm saying like to judge like you're safer here, you're safer there. Like what COVID protocol in any of the 50 states has worked? What's worked? None of it works.
Well,
I mean. It's all,
So we're not going to do anything again. We've been through this.
God. That's not what I said.
I'm saying that 80% of the games that are scheduled have been played.
Yeah. Okay.
What are you getting mad at?
Because you're getting upset. We're talking about something that's not even what I was saying. We're talking about something completely different. All I was saying was that what was the rush to start college basketball before Christmas? If you're going to have all these problems, you're going to have all these testings, you can't even go home for Christmas. Why start before Christmas if you're going to deal with it anyways? Just wait and start it in January. That's all I'm saying.
My point is that wouldn't the same thing happen if you send them home for the holidays? They're going to be around more people then than they might be if they're on the campus.
Yeah, I think we're on two totally different wavelengths here because I understand what you mean. They're going to be tested regardless. They're going to be in protocols regardless. They're going to go home regardless, do all that stuff. I'm not talking about COVID. I'm saying that for the season to be and I understand 75% of the games have been played. I'm not advocating not playing games. I'm saying if you're going to have all this mishmash and you've got coaches like Mulkey and Coach K, who it doesn't get better than anywhere than those two, and those two are saying, yeah, I don't know, then what was the rush? That's my whole question. What was the rush to start before Thanksgiving?
Especially if you start after, you can still get 75%, 80% in.
Yes.
If you start then, and then maybe as opposed to rushing it in.
They got 80% in of 100%. There's 679 games have been played. We're looking at the ones that haven't been played.
I'm not looking at those at all.
Okay. No, but I'm saying, okay, what Craig is saying is, okay, push the start date back. What if they could maybe have better organization? You're not having to bounce to all these tournaments and do all the things they've had to do, go from Mohegan Sun to Vegas to all that. If you could have waited and had a better plan, if you're still going to lose 20 to 25% of your games between January and May, what's the difference between losing 20 to 25% in November and March?
They're going to travel in January and February. If you would have waited until January, February, they're going to go to Morgantown. They're going to go to Manhattan. They're going to go to...
But if you have 2 months to have a better plan...
You think there's going to be a better plan?
Well, you could probably have worked out a better one than they did,
I'm agreeing that they could have waited. But I'm saying
why are we arguing about this?
The argument is what would have made why would that have been different than what we're seeing now?
Maybe the coaches could have been more ready for it.
Potentially that, but also you wouldn't be keeping kids home from keeping kids from being at home on Christmas or being at home on Thanksgiving. And I know that happens to some teams anyways because they're traveling and playing games. My whole thing is just like, I understand there's going to be disruptions. There's going to be games canceled. I'm very just simply saying of like, why did they feel the need with everything going on and all of the changes that football had to make? Why did basketball feel the need to keep everything pretty much as is?
Well, they actually did push it back almost 3 or 4 weeks.
But it still started before Christmas.
How many of the teams that you would say players could go home would have been playing in, I don't think it's Maui, or would have been in the Anchorage, Alaska Classic, or some of those are Thanksgiving and not Christmas. How many teams that you would have said would be able to go home? I don't know the answer to this.
Well, most of the time they
would be playing in tournaments during Christmas to New Year's.
Well, most of the time they are home at Christmas and they come back and start conference.
Or they're at that tournament. Instead, now they're on campus sitting there because they can't breathe next to anybody.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just looking at it from a person point of view, not the government and COVID or the, viruses or whatever. Like, I'm just saying, if you were this out of sorts and you saw what happened to college football, you had 4 effing months of college football evidence in front of you and how problematic that was. And you didn't decide to push it back a little bit and maybe figure out some things. And instead, we're in this situation where we're 2 weeks into the season and we've got two of the most premier coaches in all of college sports saying, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not, at least showing some trepidation for the season.
I get what you're saying. We just said that Ohio State's getting the benefit of the doubt because of their name. Mm-hmm. Aren't we saying the same thing because it's Coach K or Kim Mulkey? What about the 312 coaches that don't agree with it?
What benefit of the doubt are they getting? They're just voicing an opinion.
No, it's because they're voicing an opinion that there are people writing columns that, oh, my God, they should shut down college basketball. Well, they might do that anyway.
I think there's a massive difference in the two things that we're talking about. Ohio State is politicking for itself and saying, hey, we should change the rules because we're Ohio State, or the Big Ten because we're the Big Ten. Kim Mulkey and Coach K are just two legendary basketball coaches saying that they didn't think this is such a good idea. I think they're totally different examples, just personally, because it's a couple of individuals talking about the situation versus an entity with power swaying what was going on as to benefit themselves.
Ultimately, what are Coach K and Kim going to change? I mean, like, the train's on the tracks.
Yeah.
I think that you get enough.
Well, and if enough of the coaches don't want to do it, then
this is enough about, well, you know how social media works when it comes to jumping on the train or tracks. You do.
Yeah.
I don't care about social media.
But it's controlled some of the things that we've seen done in this country.
Because far too many people are giving it far too much power.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Yeah, so Coach K said what he said, and maybe he's stressed out from having to deal with all the things.
Or maybe he's not as good this year.
I mean, you're saying that, we don't know.
No, you mean to tell me that's not a fair opinion?
That's a fair opinion, but I don't think Coach K is going to back down from anybody because he doesn't think his team is that good. I know
he's a fighter. He's a former U.S. Army, basketball. I get it. That wasn't to take a shot at him.
I mean, you did, though.
Okay. You mean to tell me that might not come into play at all? And anyway,
I just think for a guy like Mike Krzyzewski, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, like, his more concern is, he's not won national championships and had lesser teams many times. It's not like he wins it every year. He's been through bad years before.
I don't worship at the altar of Coach K, but just because they lost a game and they might not be as good, I don't think he would just want to scrap the whole thing. I mean, I don't think that would be enough reasoning to come out and say, like, yeah, I think this was all a bad idea because his team lost a game. They've lost plenty of games and gone on to win national titles. Maybe they're not as good this year. Then I feel like that would be something that he would have said before the season actually started. If that was something that was weighing on his mind, was like, oh, shoot, we're not going to be that good this year. Maybe then before the season starts, you really throw your weight out there and talking about maybe games shouldn't be played. But I mean, maybe that entered his mind, but I don't.
He's lost a lot of other games in his career, but there was nothing to say we shouldn't play any longer like there is now.
Okay, so maybe now he finally has the built-in excuse he's always wanted to have when he has a crap team. I don't know. I think what he is saying is these first couple of weeks have been really stressful on the coaches and players. And that's what he's dealing with. It's like they didn't know the law of unintended consequences in that, like, yes, they've got 80% of the games in, but at what cost in the long term? Will they be able to sustain this if they have to keep bouncing the schedule around? Now, football, it was hard enough on them, and you're talking about 10 games. For basketball, you're talking about 30. And like, if you have to do it 17
25,
yeah. But if you have to do it 18 times, how can you take it?
And what was everybody saying before the season started? Hey, football, it'll be one thing, but basketball is going to be a totally different animal. And because there's so many more games, there's so many more teams, there's so many more players and so many more variables. And so this is not surprising in any way. Look, I don't feel that strongly about this, quite frankly, given the volume my voice is raised to. I don't even feel that passionately about it.
But didn't we just blast the Big Ten for wanting to delay football season? And why are we then saying we should delay basketball season?
Because Kim Mulkey and Coach K aren't at the end of the season all of a sudden saying, no, we totally should keep doing this and playing. They're saying at the very beginning. Big Ten saying it now that they're in do you think the Big Ten would matter at all right now if Ohio State wasn't in position to...
You didn't hear my point. My question was, I'm not making a point. The Big Ten, we blasted them for wanting to delay the football season.
They changed their mind.
They wanted to cancel the football season.
Right.
We're not saying cancel. We're just saying, maybe the way that they're seeing that the way that they did basketball now was not completely functional, and they're having regrets about doing that because of all the stress they've had to do of scheduling games in the middle of the week and doing all the things they've had to do. So now they're saying, well, this maybe wasn't the greatest plan in the world, so maybe we didn't do the right thing.
And Max said that about football, and they had that warning in front of them, and they still just pressed on. We're going to play basketball with a slight delay. And I know the virus isn't going away after Christmas, but all I'm saying is just give yourself some breathing room. Why this need to just, all right, football's almost over, let's get basketball going. I know there's going to be cancellations, there are going to be all those things. But I just feel like if you already had an idea that this was going to be far more difficult than football, then why did you feel the need to have to get it in before Christmas time? And I know it doesn't change if you wait another month or two, but at least you can collect your breath a little bit, have a little extra time to maybe prepare and plan. And that's all I was saying.
All right, I got an answer to that. Why is Ohio State trying to get in the college football playoff?
It's two that you're talking about.
No, would you listen to me? You guys have said a lot, too.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm trying to make a point that maybe satisfies both of you. Why is the Big Ten fighting for Ohio State to be in the college football playoff?
Money.
Bingo. That's why they started college basketball when they did.
Yeah, but if you were going to play the same amount of games, wouldn't the same amount of money be there?
What?
You're not going
to be able to play the same amount of games if you start college basketball in January.
If you schedule the same amount of games and push the season back, you can.
I don't think
Why
you can.
not?
Well, that's an idea. They could have done that, but that's not what they're doing. You mean to tell me they were going to play in January and play 35 college basketball games?
If they pushed it back to May, like Rick Pitino suggested, then yeah. I mean, that's what they could try.
They would. So then you're now asking.
You don't know that they're going to do it this way either.
Now you're asking networks to have college basketball, which is a billion-dollar business, move into other things they have that also are spending money to put on TV.
Better than not having it at all. Like they did last year.
How do you know they're going to play 35 if you start in January?
We don't.
How do you know they're going to play 35 if they start in November?
But at least they've played 79% of the games that were scheduled. Yes. And otherwise, you may not get them all in at all. It's about money, though. It's about money.
Yes.
You're not going to play a 35-game season if you start college basketball in January. No way it's going to happen.
And now what we're saying is the coaches maybe are having buyer's remorse on the plan they had.
Some coaches. Not all. Some. Yeah. Kyle Keller and Stephen F. Austin just drove 3.5 hours yesterday to get to Waco to play a game against Baylor, which God knows, who knows what we might hear between now and tip-off at 7 because of Gonzaga on Saturday. Football Bob is next on Sic'Em365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They've got a great deal coming up this holiday season. They have their own private barrel of Balcones whiskey, the Christmas special, put on by them, the Waco Whiskey Club, and Balcones. It's their own. The only place you can get it is at Balcones. So call there, make your reservation now. Plus, look, for the holidays, for everything you're doing, spirits, wine, craft beer, they've got a fantastic selection. They've got a fantastic staff, clean in-store location, plus the great drive-through window. You go up, you make your order, zip on, zip out. They are fantastic. They're efficient. They've got great knowledge. They've got great suggestions. Whatever you need, if you're not a wine person, you need to pair some wine with something, they are great with that. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram. A hidden gem in Waco, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who, as children, had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old, and they come every 6 months, and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mill.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on Sic'Em365.com.
We're back, Sic'Em365 Radio, and Ashley Hodge, you're going to have a post-game, right? Is that right? A post-game show following Baylor and Stephen F. Austin. They'll tip at the Farrell Center, and good matchup at the Farrell Center. We know what happened last time. It was shocking, no matter how good SFA has been on occasion. We're now joined by Gary Comer, Football Bob, on Sic'Em365.com, and also a college football analyst for us. So, Gary, looking back at Oklahoma, although Oklahoma State is closer than what Oklahoma was far back, looking at what you saw defensively, were they doing anything different than they have done before? And obviously they were impressive with what they did. Was there anything you saw that they added a wrinkle?
Wrinkles, no, but technique and explosion, yes. The defensive line was just head and shoulders over what they had been playing at for the last few weeks. And it wasn't like that they were playing very badly in the weeks previous to this. Those guys were stuffing the OU offensive line, who is thought to be one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12. They were stuffing those guys all night long. I mean, it was dominant.
Gary, the offensive line maybe had its worst game on Saturday night. And Dave Aranda said that they don't really have backups. They don't have competition. You know, guys are backups. They're start at one position, a backup at another. How do you navigate that going forward? You only have one game this season, but as far as building depth and finding the right place for people.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing that they've got to do. Of course, they're going to do the very best they can this week and try and piece together an offensive line that they feel like can compete. But that is the real key factor that they have to look at for next fall, is they've got to make sure that they've got the best players in each position that they could put them. Find those guys that fit what they want to do at each position, and then work that guy until he gets to be a great player. That's a real goal for the off-season program and spring ball this year for Baylor.
Gary, what did you think of Jonah White, what you saw of him?
I was really surprised. I mean, I've known that he's a pretty good player, and that Baylor was lucky to get him. But boy, he really looked good. Big kid or strong kid. Ran real well in the open field, broke a couple of tackles, caught the ball really well. It was very impressive.
You know, he had 9 catches in that game. We had a comment from him earlier. I did not even realize that. He had a couple of 3 carries for 17, 18 yards, had the longest run of the game for Baylor. But he had 9 catches out of the backfield. That's some of them were dump-offs, but I didn't even know he had that in him. I guess you don't know until you get a chance to play, right?
Well, that's right. Playing time shows things, and Jonah was up for the challenge, no doubt about it. He really looked good. You know, it's not every back that can catch the ball like that. You know, Tristan Ebner has kind of spoiled this in that he is just exceptional, but he's almost more receiver than he is running back. Jonah is a true running back. I mean, there's no receiver in him. And, boy, he can catch the ball and make something happen after he catches it.
Gary, what have you thought about Abram Smith and how he's continued to develop?
Can't believe it. I mean, this is the second year in a row that the star linebacker has gone down. Clay Johnston last year, Terrell Bernard this year. Star linebacker's gone down. That best linebacker available steps in and just starts to play lights out. I mean, Abram, you know, a few weeks ago I was a little concerned about his pass coverage, and there he goes and just reads a tight end seam route perfectly, gets right in between the quarterback and the tight end, is there to intercept the ball, and doggone it if it doesn't go through his hands and get for a touchdown, where he would have had a great saving interception there on the lip of the cup. He's been playing great, and he has gotten to be such a more sure tackler than he was at the very beginning when he had to step on that field. And his spits are better, too. He's playing great.
Gary, I believe that next Monday and Tuesday, the coaches will sit down with players and they'll have their exit interviews, so to speak, whatever, they're freshmen or whatever. And, of course, now you don't know what they are because of the opt-out year. And there will be some attrition. There's no doubt about it. But they also can practice next week. How do you mix that together?
Well, that's a situation that you know, I've never been in, where you're going to practice, but you have no game to prepare for. You don't even have a bowl game that's out there in the future. This is just practice, kind of like a mini spring ball, but at the end of a long season when everybody's beat up and it's not a real happy camp around in Waco right now because, you know, there's been so few losses. I mean, so few wins. Gosh, if I had that situation, I think that the one thing that I do is I try and focus primarily on technique, try and make sure we did those technique things that we're going to carry over to next year. But then again, I might also try and make it a little bit fun for the kids too, get some competition going and seeing, you know, who's going to be the best guy and those kinds of things. Try and make it to where it's a little bit just skill-based, but then have a few of those things thrown in that would be just fun for the kids.
What do you see from Oklahoma State?
Well, they're a good football team. I mean, they have been probably as inconsistent as any Oklahoma State football team that I've seen in years past. Gundy is usually just so consistent about the way his team plays. Usually plays good defense. They scramble around and make plays. They're athletic. And then offensively, they always move the football. This year, you know, it's been hot and cold, kind of like some of Baylor's players in the secondary. But, you know, I think they're a good football team, and I think that they're going to be a real challenge. The best thing is that Baylor always plays very well against Oklahoma State in Waco. You can look it up. I mean, Oklahoma State comes in here and they are flying high, and then Baylor shows up and just beats them. It's never easy. It's never a big score, but Baylor shows up and beats them. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened this Saturday.
How much of that is the mentality for Oklahoma State right now that, a month ago they thought that they were in this thing and now they're out of it?
Well, I think that that's something. I mean, it's very difficult when your expectations get so high. It is very difficult to maintain your tough mental attitude when you are just disappointed time after time after time. And I think Baylor went through a little bit of that early in the year. And I think Oklahoma State is confronted with that issue right now.
Gary Comer joins us, Football Bob on Sic'Em365.com. Dave Aranda said in the postgame, but also on Monday, when he was asked about the run game, obviously it was not good at all in any way. And he said they took a step back. What did you see, and is that a technique thing as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a footwork, technique, body position thing completely. Oklahoma's good, but some of the things that I saw, I mean, they're junior high mistakes, not high school mistakes. They're junior high mistakes. You know, one of the things that an offensive lineman has to do is he has to take positive steps in the right direction. You just don't step forward every play. You have to know what is the most dangerous thing that defender can do to me when I'm trying to make the block on him. And then you have to prepare and take away that most dangerous thing first, and then react to everything else second. And there were so many times that, big, strong football players for Baylor University are just stepping off the ball with a 12-inch step, which is about 6 inches too long, in just a straight off-the-ball direction, when they have defensive linemen that are on their left or their right that they would need to step more at an angle or even flat to be able to take away that most dangerous thing.
Gary, thank you. One last thing. This is it for them. There's no more games after this, and there will be attrition to the roster, and who knows what maybe a coach or two might be looking around or people looking at them as well. How important is it to end? You win every season with a win, but would a win give them a shot in the arm, or would it really matter?
I think a win would help a lot. I mean, just think about the attitude and the feel of the program after the Kansas State victory. It was a big difference from where it had been headed with just one victory, and now all of a sudden they had that 2 victory, and it was a good game against Kansas State. If they could end this year with another good game, that would help a lot. It's not going to cure all the ills, though, Smoke. I mean, this has been a tough year, and they've had to overcome a lot of difficult things, and a lot of bad things have happened to them in regards to things like team chemistry and everybody keeping their focus and those kinds of things. And so, that's not going to go away, and it's going to have to be overcome with a good off-season program. I think that that's going to happen, but it's going to have to take place in the off-season, no doubt about it. It's a scary thing in today's football, and I've heard Paul talk about this before. It's a scary thing when everybody can transfer, everybody can go someplace else, and most of those kids can play immediately. And that's just a whole different animal than we're used to dealing with.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate your time as always. Football Bob with us on the weeks of Baylor games. We might have him come back one more week because they have Oklahoma State coming up on Saturday to kind of look back and look ahead, almost like we were doing as well. One note to close it out. We mentioned about Sam Carroll, the young man from New Mexico who put up on his Twitter page that he is looking around. It appears to me as if that was something that he was recruited by James Blanchard, who no longer is a part of the staff. And James recruited a lot of these guys, and that he had no football season. And the thing I hate about it for Sam, and I've kind of watched some of the responses to this, good luck. There's no ill will here. But, he was asked to graduate early to get on campus in January. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't know when campus is going to be, but so he graduates in like 10 days. And then all of a sudden, a week before National Signing Day, he doesn't have a scholarship.
Yeah, that's nerve-wracking.
Now,
I wouldn't want that to happen to me.
I do know this, that he has had at least some interest. I don't know about offers. I'm sure New Mexico State know about him. Washington State and even North Dakota State at least have been in touch. And there's schools around Texas. When he was here in Texas for Christmas back a couple of Christmases ago, they were able to visit some of the schools around the state. So there might be still some opportunities, but whether they're Power 5 opportunities, I don't know. But he's graduated in 10 days. National Signing Day is on the 15th or 16th next week. So that's kind of a timeline there, and I wish him the best with Sam Carroll, the high school kid out of New Mexico. That's just something to think about. It's also something to think about as well. When a player decommits, he's not decommitting. When a player decommits, we kind of sometimes see fans get their feelings hurt, right? But you love it when somebody else comes to your class when they've decommitted or transfers or whatever. Remember, it does go both ways.
Yeah, schools decommit too.
Yeah, and I don't like it. I don't like when schools decommit. I'm not saying that happened here. I just think that eventually the fact that he didn't play, it's been COVID, it's a new staff, a lot of that, James not around anymore. I just think it might have been both of them said, hey, we just need to look at other options.
Well, and look, I don't like it when it happens, the way we talk about the school decommits, but, if you have a new coaching staff, they shouldn't have to honor something that they didn't offer, that if they don't want it, it's harsh, but it's true. I mean, it's just how, and it's just part of the recruiting, stuff that sucks.
You just don't want to see that happen too often. No. Sometimes it's just best for both to go different directions. The Des Bryant story, which we didn't get into much at all, but the Des Bryant warming up and being told he needs to take a COVID test and he tests positive because it was an inconclusive test earlier in the day. How messed up was that? And then he knew he was going to Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Did you follow that at all in the timeline?
Yeah. I don't understand how he got it. Like, I know they have the contact tracing bracelets and everything. I don't know how all the other Ravens weren't nicked in the contact tracing if he was there in the locker room and all that.
I don't even think you need to bring up just the Ravens.
Well, he was hugging Cowboys.
He's out there hugging Cowboys. You expect him to do that. He's an emotional guy. A lot of guys love Dez, right?
Yeah. So when they said his contact tracing is fine, that translated to me as the NFL's like, everybody's got their shoulder pads on. Let's go. I mean, like,
the coaches didn't have shoulder pads on.
Yeah, but I mean, let's go.
It was, hey, we're this close to kickoff, and it could have had a Baylor Gonzaga situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's close to what it was, and I feel bad for Dez. I mean, I do. I know that he was getting geared up for that game and was excited about it. And so for all the people that were involved, for him to be the guy that gets pulled away and not, anybody, name anybody else on either team. And of all the people, it's Des Bryant. I think that's really weird. And I feel bad for him because I know he was looking forward to that, but maybe he'll get an opportunity again down the line. It just won't be for a really long time unless he jumps to a team that is going to play the Cowboys soon, because they won't play the Ravens again for the foreseable future. Yeah. So,
said, I'm about to drink some wine and cope. Since I'm out, do you guys want to hear my business? I've been I got COVID, everyone. I'm not drunk yet. I only have one glass of wine. I'm getting my business stuff together to share with you all. And then he said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And then later on, he said, yeah, I'm coming back. I'm being smart.
Yeah, I actually talked with this. My podcast for the Believe in the Cowboys will drop later tonight with Orlando Scandrick. But I asked Orlando, because he knows Dez really well, and I said, yeah, we haven't heard anything just exactly yet what his plans are. But I said, Orlando, Dez, he's passionate, and he's gonna let his emotions. He goes, yeah, he is. And I felt like he wanted to tell me a story and then didn't. but Dez is very passionate, and we've seen that. I was there in the locker room when he got mad because some yahoo tweeted that he was cheering about Ricardo Lockett's neck being broken, which wasn't true. Dez runs hot.
Quick trigger.
Yeah, he runs hot, and I think he'll be back. I don't think, and he said he'll be back. He's just in his feelings.
It could have been against any team, but it was the Cowboys. And that's what, again, and there's a lot of guys that go back and play against their former team, but we knew Dez and his emotions, that he's been 3 years, and then it's Dallas, and then he's pulled off the field. And the contact tracing thing makes no sense at all, that someone wasn't you can't play either. Yeah. Now, if it was a flare-up with the Cowboys or Ravens this week, we kind of know where
patient zero is.
Yeah, we do. So good luck to him. I hate it for him. Heck, D-Rob, we had him on yesterday to talk about, because we know how far he went for that. Okay, thanks to Kim Mulkey. Thanks to Jalen Petrie, Josh Landry, Jonah White. Thanks to John Machota, Richie Witt. Thanks to Jerome Tang and Pat Nunley as well, and then also Football Bob for being a part of the show. Anything else, guys?
No.
Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina. Ashley, what time? As soon as it goes 0, or are you going to come over here a little bit after? 9:30 Central tonight.
Yeah. Fantasy football show coming up next, by the way.
Baylor and fantasy football next. And Baylor and Stephen F. Austin postgame on Sic'Em365 Radio with Ashley Hodge. Tip-off, that will start about 9:30 Central Time. Good luck. Have fun. David Smoke for Armstrong Sims and also Jack as well. Thank you for listening and watching whenever you do, however long it might be, and good night.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culture Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culture Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culture Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culture Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culture Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.